Welcome in to Check the Mic. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson. We're live on YouTube. It is Monday morning. Time for our Week 8 NFL review, Sam.
It is. We are live. It is Monday. All of those things are true, Steve. You're factually correct.
I am factually correct.
No misinformation so far.
So far, so good. I promise you, though, in the next 2 hours and 45 minutes, maybe even more, I will misspeak.
A lot of
I will have misinformation, but there's all sorts of fun stuff to get to today because there's 16 games, 15 games actually, but there we go.
It's just like the rest of the media. It's just wall-to-wall misinformation.
Wall to wall.
Yeah.
And we're no different. I mean, when you speak for 3 hours, you know, some slips out. So we're gonna. It's all brought to you by PrizePicks, by the way, which you could join us. And I did it again, Sam. My lineup was great again. The prize. It's a team effort though.
2.5 yards. I got 2 out of 3, and then Aaron Rodgers screwed me along with everybody else.
Yes.
2.5 yards short.
Yes. We'll trash Rodgers soon. Don't worry. But you guys could join along. Download the PrizePicks app. Use the code. Check the mic. You get $50 instantly when you play $5. But as a podcast, Sam, 5 straight weeks, at least one of our lineups has hit. Now I've had 4 of them.
Yeah.
You've had 1, but 5 straight weeks as a podcast. Again, we'll talk about that as we go. 15 games to discuss. We got to be on point this morning. So let's go. Thursday night football. Los Angeles Rams defeated the Minnesota Vikings. It was 30-20. Rams moved to 3-4. Vikings fall to 5-2. Vikings with their 2 losses coming within 4 days of each other. They were 5-0 just a week ago. But the Rams, they were back with Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp back out on the field. Offense looking completely different than it has all season.
Yeah. Of course, the 2 most consequential things from this game are kind of irrelevant to the game. It's like officials not being able to see a face mask happening right in front of them, and the Vikings losing Christian Darrisaw, which is honestly probably the most important thing to come from this game. Not taking a knee before halftime. I get why they're like the 3-yard line would have been kind of tight if they tried kneeing it out from there, if the Rams wanted to use their timeouts.
I heard
them.
I didn't go back and fact check you, but you told me the Rams had 3 timeouts. I saw Prickly Pete Prisco.
I said 3.
I saw Prisco say that they had 1 timeout, so just take a knee.
Yeah. I don't think I said 3, but I'm pretty sure they had
timeouts. Yeah.
Multiple, which means they could have potentially forced the Vikings. Anyway, either way, I get why you run a play rather than just taking the knee. And Darrisaw gets rolled up on from behind, goes down. It looks like it's going to be a serious knee injury and put him potentially out for the year. That's way more important for the Vikings than losing another game.
Some of the other analysis a lot of my notes today are like the trade deadline's a week from Tuesday. And so a lot of the results from this weekend either put players maybe more on the trading block or less on the trading block. One of those stories was Cooper Kupp. The Rams came out and said, hey, he's not going anywhere. All those rumors, they were false. Maybe that was true, but a 2-5 Rams team probably more likely to have traded Cooper Kupp. Now they're sitting here half a game behind the 49ers. The NFC West, it's really tight with the Niners at 4-4. Everyone else, the Cardinals are 4-4. Niners are 4-4. Seahawks are 4-4. Rams are now in last by half a game at 3-4, but very much in the thick of the NFC West. But you just saw, like, this was the best the Rams offense looked all season. Puka Nacua looked great. Cooper Kupp, some big plays, especially down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, I forget who it was that was saying it's entirely plausible that the Rams didn't have an intention of trading Cooper Kupp, but we're taking the phone calls, right?
Yeah, of course.
Like that can be true at the same time, and would only make sense from a team point of view. Like there's no point in not listening in case somebody's willing to throw something utterly ridiculous in your direction. So I think that's fair enough that they were potentially involved. You know, Kansas City phones up, hey, what would it take to get Cooper Kupp? You throw, ludicrous asks in their direction. They're like, actually, we're going to go in a different direction. Nuke, maybe. Cool. See ya. That's entirely consistent along the lines of we have no intention of trading Cooper Kupp, and we're still happy he's here, blah, blah, blah. The Rams getting all their playmakers on the field at the same time turns that into a completely different team. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, like all those guys together, it's different. The other things, it's all the things coming out of this game to me are kind of big picture stuff, right? Yeah. The Rams, with those guys on the field, are a different team. The Vikings obviously lose another game, a blow for them, the biggest blow being losing their left tackle. That's a long-term problem now for them. And you saw late in the game, the left side of that offensive line was an issue because Darrisaw wasn't there. Also, I don't think that the Lions provided much of a blueprint in how to attack Brian Flores' defense. I think the Rams provided a much clearer one. I think, were the first team in a long time, maybe certainly this year, to genuinely find weak points in this defense and break it. Like the quick passing game, the screens. I think that completely knocked Flores out of his stride, and I don't think that they adjusted particularly well, the Vikings, in the second half, trying to figure out how to combat the way that the Rams were attacking this defense. That's a replicable game plan. That's something that any other team can watch the tape of and go, oh, okay, this is how we go against this defense. This is how we avoid all these crazy looks and this stuff. We can do this. I don't need, a random superstar player to replicate this game plan. We can do this tomorrow. We can implement this for this week. That, I think, is a potential problem for this Vikings team as well.
Definitely something to keep an eye on coming out of this. Brian Flores' defense, it was all the rage the first 7 weeks of the season, 6 weeks of the season. How do they bounce back? Are they able to adjust? As Liam Reynolds in the chat likes to feed the propaganda on all of our shows here, Sam.
Yeah.
Calling it the Honolulu flu. After you play the Lions, the loss for the Vikings. And we mentioned it. We merely mentioned it in the preview show last week, but maybe didn't emphasize it enough that teams, after playing the Lions, especially on 4 days of rest, it's impossible. Impossible to win after playing the Lions.
And again, though, the
Titans
whole thing,
it didn't. Week.
Yeah, for more than one reason. It all comes down to, it all came down to the game literally ended on a blown, missed face mask call. Now, Minnesota still had to drive 97 yards, score that, and the 2-point conversion, right? They were down 8.
They were down 8, yeah.
So it's not like, it's not like they were winning the game but for the call, but the call ended any chance they had of executing that final drive. It literally ended the game with that call. Completely inexcusable goof. We had the instant reaction show that was half spent ranting about this. 2 different people. And so there's no explanation that's acceptable, right? They talk to the ref, the pool reporter, asks the ref after the game, hey, what happened in this call? There's no accountability for that other than you get a line that the ref gives you. There's nothing he can say that makes this okay because it's a blown call, right? Yeah. So anything he says is going to be bad. But the only thing he can say is we missed it, our bad, I'm sorry, right? Instead, he's like, nobody really had a good view of it, And yet every image,
the stare,
and yet every image there shows at least one person has a very clear view of this thing, and it was so obvious. Darnold's head whips around to the side, and I told you, if you'd done nothing other, if you blindfold on, right, blindfold comes off the second the play is ended, and all you had to do to judge it by was every player's reaction. Darnold is lying on the floor, giving the face mask sign. Aaron Jones runs up to the officials and is like, dude, face mask. Byron Young, the guy who just got the game-ending sack, wheels away, hands to his head in the universal sign of oh my God, no, what have I done, right?
He tweeted out, he's like, oh, it was just so loud in the stadium.
Yeah. So not one single player who was involved in this immediately thought, great, we won, it's a clean play. Everybody knew it was a face mask.
We're not getting it. We had our rants on Thursday night, but like you're saying, as soon as you see the head turn, maybe it's a simple hey, let's just huddle.
Yeah.
Let's get the expedited review, whatever they call it. And it's it could have been the collarbone, right? Could have been the
yes.
Could have been, his pads.
My point, though,
could have been a face mask. Just somebody review it for us, and then we'll just throw a flag if there's a face mask, and nobody's going to argue except diehard Rams fans who just want to win the game. That's it.
Yes.
And I just feel we were just robbed of fun. I don't think the Vikings were going to win. We were just robbed of a potential game-tying drive.
The final point, just to wrap it up, though, is this is an island game. Again, this has happened multiple times in these island primetime games where nothing else is happening. There is a room full of people in New York with access to all of these feeds, to all the tape, to all the views, and are monitoring these games. I don't care if it's not reviewable, technically, right? Nobody in the world is going to complain if you take 5 seconds, buzz down, say, dude, you missed a clear face mask on this play, throw a flag, right? If New York buzzes down, fixes it, this is the whole purpose of instant replay as a concept, right? is to fix egregious and obvious errors that define games. This is like the poster child for that. If they had buzzed down, even though technically it would violate whatever, like, protocols they have, and fixed the call after review, they'd huddled up after review, face mask penalty. As you said, the only people that would complain about that are Rams fans who have obviously a rooting interest in the game and are not impartial, viewers in this. That should have happened. I don't care what the protocols are. That should have been what happened at the end of this.
And getting it right, all the people are like, oh, it's fixed, it's conspiracy. I mean, those people have existed since the 70s or beyond. But like, if you get it right, you can't call it. I mean, it's not a conspiracy if they call down and get it right, obviously. Right. So just get it right. You got no more use for that game. It was Thursday. It was a while ago, but it was a fun one. Rams 30-20. Let's get to the 1 o'clock slate from yesterday. Arizona Cardinals get the win over the Dolphins, 28-27. Cardinals move to 4-4, as I mentioned. The NFC West is really tight at the top. Dolphins fall to 2-5. I think the Bills basically have clinched the AFC East at this point. They're already 3.5. Yeah. The Dolphins are in second at 2-5. Patriots and Jets are 2-6. But this was, look, Tua came back. Looked like Tua. Dolphins got up early, but the Cardinals did their thing. It was 20-10. They creep back with a safety, get it to 20-18 after missing the 2-point conversion. They just kept coming back. Even when the Dolphins took a 9-point lead, Cardinals kept coming back into this game. Big takeaways for me. Huge game for Marvin Harrison Jr., probably his best game as a pro. Trey McBride with a huge game. Kyler Murray with a huge game with some ridiculous throws in this. And that's kind of like my high-level takeaway with the Cardinals, who I, criticize on the show every week. I don't love their entire roster, but man, when Kyler Murray plays like Superman, they are tough to beat, and he made some Superman-like throws in this game.
He really did. I mean, his play for Michael Wilson's touchdown was proper, like, freak show ridiculousness. I mean, there's very few quarterbacks in the NFL that can do that kind of thing.
Just don't know when he's going to, like, when they're going to bottle it up and unleash that. I don't know, because 2 or 3 times we've seen it this year so far.
His best stuff is off script. He's the quarterback. Like, he's kind of the guy that Caleb Williams is going to, I think, try to be ultimately. That guy who's completely off script, ad-libbing behind the line of scrimmage and in the pocket still works at this level. It's so hard to do that. Like, you need to be incredibly athletic and incredibly instinctive to be able to make that work in the NFL, where the defenses are bigger, stronger, faster, and more disciplined, which is probably the biggest thing. Kyler is one of the few that's actually still able to make it work. And okay, it may be more inconsistent as a way of playing than other ways, but when he does put it together, it's basically unstoppable, and he did it in this game. It's tough because, like, high level for the Dolphins, you're like, it did work. I mean, Tua coming back into the offense genuinely flipped the switch. It was a different team, and the problem is they still lost, and the season's probably done because of it.
Yeah.
Good news and bad news. Good news is it is fixed. Like, guy Tua back in the lineup immediately transformed everything. Tyreek's back, Jalen Waddle's back, the run game's back. Everything's good on the offensive side. The bad news is you lost to the Cardinals, and therefore the season's probably done already.
Oh yeah, I mean, Cardinals continue to, upset the apple cart.
Nice.
They, I expected to come in here with that narrative, right? That the Dolphins would be sitting here at 3-4, still in the mix for an AFC wild card. Wasn't great when Tua was gone, but he's back. As long as he stays healthy, they can make a little bit of a run because, the offense looked completely different.
Their schedule is brutal. Like, they needed this game. Their next game is on the road against Buffalo. They're on the road against the Rams. Okay, then they've got the Raiders and the Patriots for a couple of potential wins. But then it's at Green Bay, the Jets, at Houston, San Francisco, at Cleveland, at the Jets again. It's really hard to find enough wins in that to get them to rescue this.
I just wanted to highlight, so from a Dolphins perspective, that's what I expected to see. I thought Tua was fantastic. You saw the run game was better. Everything was better, but it wasn't enough, obviously. No. From a Cardinals perspective, Marvin Harrison Jr. made that beautiful diving catch in the end zone, Sam, because
they got him involved early.
Oh, because they got him involved. I mean, if they did not.
See, me and Rick tried to tell you this.
If they did not feed him a couple routes early.
You weren't hearing it, but you get him involved.
Crosser and a little stick route. If they didn't do that, there's no way Marvin Harrison Jr. is making this catch in the end zone diving.
And on this
He
play,
probably would have just stopped his route and said, "Nope, I'm disengaged."
on this play,
game.
he ran away from Jalen Ramsey as well.
He did. Man covered. Yeah, so the first deep crosser that he ran was in between zone. He's open for a 22-yard gain. And then this one completely runs away from Jalen Ramsey.
This was really impressive because obviously, like the good catch, the hands, the sort of the finish of the play is impressive, but the first part is honestly maybe the more impressive part, or at least as relevant. He ran away, albeit away from the leverage, but he ran away from Jalen Ramsey. Like that's. Remember week one, we're like, why is Marvin Harrison running like a locomotive? Like, where is the speed?
Yeah.
I mean, that demonstrated there's speed that still plays at the NFL level for this guy. He may not look as twitchy and as explosive as a Malik Neighbors, say, or even a Brian Thomas Jr., but he can run away from a guy like Jalen Ramsey, who's still like a legit high-end corner, and then make the spectacular acrobatic catch in the end zone.
Even that play, it's not like you're watching him and like, oh man, he looks twitchy, he looks fast, but he ran away from Ramsey. Now Ramsey might not be as fast as he once was or whatever, that's fair. But we highlighted that at draft time. We were like, hey, we've got these advanced metrics. We have top speed numbers from computer vision technology, and the numbers are fast.
Yeah.
Might not look like it, but he's got good enough top speeds and good enough, play-to-play speeds. The other throw I want to highlight from Kyler is just insane. I tweeted a screenshot of it. I mean, I'm just going to watch it again, but there's basically an unblocked pressure in his face.
Yes.
And it's insane. It's absolutely insane because he's on the right hash.
This is the one where he hits Marvin Harrison Jr. again?
On the deep out. So I froze it. My tweet froze it as he's throwing the ball. And Marvin Harrison Jr. is still on the vertical stem from a tight split on the left numbers. He's on the numbers on the left, and Kyler's on the right hash. And Kyler just chucks it up to a spot, like not exactly along the sideline, but 3 or 4 yards from the sideline, where Marvin Harrison Jr. runs the out route, sees the ball. I mean, the ball is thrown so early and through to a near perfect spot on the out route. It was just unbelievable. And this is what I'm saying about Kyler and the Cardinals. You and I love Trey McBride at tight end. Mm-hmm. We've been believers in Marvin Harrison Jr. overall. We talked about him with Rick Spielman last week. I may have said, hey, there's some warning signs. Maybe I don't love it. Okay, I'm back in on Marvin Harrison Jr. And then Kyler Murray, when they are playing at their best, the Cardinals are really tough. They are really tough because that's a star receiver, a star tight end, and a star quarterback. And Kyler doesn't play like this every week. He just doesn't. He's been very streaky this year. What's up?
Nothing.
What's so funny?
No. Carry on.
It's very streaky.
Yeah, he has. I mean, he made 3 or 4 plays in this game that were absolutely, genuinely not defendable. Like, there's no answer to those plays. That one you were talking about, the free rusher, he finds Marvin Harrison Jr., the Michael Wilson touchdown. There were multiple plays. Like, if he's going to play like that, he doesn't get talked about in this category anymore. Maybe he never has, but one of the reasons, Mahomes isn't having a great season, but coming into the year, it's like Mahomes is a quarterback one of one in his own tier. I think a lot of people tend to put Josh Allen as QB2. If they don't, they tend to put Lamar Jackson maybe as QB2. And the reason why is those guys have traits where if they decide to show up on a given day, you just can't stop it. There's no answer. They have the trump card. Allen, short yardage, the arm, like everything he can do, there's no answer to it if he decides, I'm just going to make this play. Kyler's in that category as well, where when he just decides, I'm going to invalidate your defense by being freakish, there's nothing you can do. As good as Joe Burrow is, he can't do that. Like, Joe Burrow does not have those genuinely freakish athletic traits where he can just invalidate the defense by being superior of an athlete, of an athletic specimen. Allen does, Lamar Jackson does, Kyler Murray does as well, and he's reminded people of that a few times this season. Doesn't do it as consistently as the other guys, but he does do it.
Remember what I used to always say about Matthew Stafford? That 3 or 4 times a year, he looks like a top 3 quarterback.
Right.
Kyler's starting to get into that territory for me. I think when you add it all up at the end, where does he rank as far as quarterbacks? Is he top 8? Is he top 10? Is he top 15? I don't know. But so far this year, 2 or 3 times right now, Kyler's had games where he looks like a top 3 quarterback. This was one of them. outside of a couple throws. I mean, just some stuff that was absolutely freakish. And again, NFC West wide open. Cardinals with 2 wins in 6 days against the Chargers and 2 as Dolphins. Those are pretty impressive wins for the Cardinals here, so got to give them credit. And for the Dolphins, tough one when they're trying to save their season, fall to 2-5 here.
Yeah, just an unfortunate. It would have been tough anyway, even getting a win like this, but at least they could have come out of this game on the high vibes. Tua's back, it's fixed. We can go on a run. We got to win. We're below 500, but we're still in the mix. Now it's like, okay, instead there's just no way. There's not enough wins on that schedule to claw back this.
Well, at least the Dolphins aren't in last in the AFC East.
True.
That goes to the Patriots and the Jets. Patriots and Jets now 2-6 after New England wins 25-22. A fourth quarter comeback for Jacoby Brissett to earn the QB win for Drake May, because that's how they're tracked. As long as you start, you get the win. Patriots and Jets, both 2-6. The sky is falling even more with the Jets, and there are some fantastic tweets of futility that we have to get to. That's the whole section. Maybe tweets of futility.
Tweets of futility.
Yeah, maybe that's the whole. I just love those on a Sunday night. I mean, if you guys send them now. The tweets that are like, this is the only time since the merger that this thing happened, and it's so sad for the team that lost or whatever. I want to see them. I want to see all of them. And the Jets have some of them coming out of this game.
I mean, generally, this is one of the reasons I think football is such a sort of fun sport to cover is the stats. Like, the stats in football are more interesting than the stats in any other game. They just are, right?
Well, that's what baseball every week had going for it for so long.
Yeah, but baseball, it's like baseball is they're too spreadsheety, right? The baseball, every stat involves like 17 decimals, and it's like, I just don't care. Football, it's like every week, no matter what happened, this is the first time since 1972 that a team's done X, Y, Z and lost. You're like, that's just fun. That's a fun thing to talk about. Did you all this research for like clips and nuggets and sound bites? Did you find the one of Aaron Rodgers talking like Bane?
No.
He was like, I've been to the darkness before. You've got to embrace the dark. Coming out of this game, they're like, hey, so you've lost. You're 2-6. You're boned, basically, right? And Rodgers like, you've got to. I've been to the darkness before. You've got to embrace the darkness. It was like the Bane speech, It was like that, except without the voice.
I didn't catch that.
That's what we should have been playing now.
No, sorry.
Rodgers talking about embracing the darkness. Now they're 2-6, and he just hosed everybody, including me and my PrizePicks lineup.
So let's talk. He did. Your PrizePicks lineup.
That's the real victim in all of this.
Is your passing yard projection on Aaron Rodgers. So there was a big turning point in this game I want to highlight in a minute here and then get to the futility tweets. But first off, they missed it. It was New England 7-0. Drake May looked great at first. He had 46 yards on the ground, including a 17-yard touchdown scramble. He finished only 3 for 6 for 23 yards, but dropped a dime in there that was dropped. The Patriots receivers were dropping passes left and right.
Still stink. In
this game. They were terrible. 4 passes, probably that should have been first downs, including 3 for Jacoby Brissett, or maybe 2 for Brissett, whatever it was. But Drake May looked great. He comes out of the game after getting hit in the head on a slide.
Slide.
It was a late slide. I mean, it wasn't really, I didn't think it was a cheap hit.
No.
It was one of those.
It didn't even look like anything. The guy was kind of coming in from the side, like perpendicular to Drake May as he went to ground. I wouldn't call that a slide.
Yeah. Either way, I mean, he
just clipped him in the head, and it's like that. It didn't look like a hit. Like, I mean, he delivered a hit. It was at the end of a run where he like lowered the shoulder on a guy earlier in the run, run through that contact, and then was sort of going to ground, and just the head gets clipped by the guy sort of coming from the side. It didn't look like much of a hit, but then he ends up putting him out. It's just unfortunate.
That's also the crazy thing about the concussion stuff. We have Tua just a few weeks ago with a completely different reaction, obviously, to a concussion. You don't know how bad the hit is. Sometimes guys get hit really hard and it's nothing. I mean, you can't really predict that stuff. But Drake May was ruled out. Jacoby Brissett came in. So that was the first thing. The Jets ended up kind of taking control of the game, but they missed an extra point early. That ended up coming back to bite.
Greg Zuerlein.
Patriots, Greg Zuerlein misses the extra point. There was also a play in the third quarter. It was 14-13 Patriots. Jets got stopped on 3rd and 1, and they threw the ball. And I think if you want to sum up the Aaron Rodgers era, and I know he's going to get absolutely obliterated this week, but it was another game where, like, throw for throw, was still pretty good. Like, he was fine in this game, throw for throw. But, like, when you throw the ball on 3rd and 1, and it's just a low percentage slant into tight coverage on Christian Gonzalez, and it gets broken up, and then they just kicked a field goal to go up 16-14 instead of going for it on 4th and 1. And you start settling for field goals early, and New England ends. And again, in all of this, the Jets still ended up coming back, right? 4th quarter comeback for Aaron Rodgers. They go up 22-17. They don't get the 2-point conversion. There's a penalty, puts them at the 7. Like, the Jets just aren't playing winning football. It's not. I honestly don't think it's just Aaron Rodgers sucks and he's old and it's terrible. Like, it's not that. It's not. Are there plays that he could have back? But, like, the spacing in the offense is terrible at times. There's just not explosiveness in the offense. There's not going for it on 4th down. There's a penalty when they're going for 2, so they're only up 5 at this point instead of up 7. Like, all those things are adding up here for the Jets.
I think Dan Orlovsky was making this point maybe a week ago about this Jets offense, that you can't find people that are consistently playing terribly on it, right? Like, it's not like you look at this team, it's sort of failing to produce, it's not firing on all cylinders. You're like, we should be able to identify clear problem spots, right? Guys that are just letting everybody down on a consistent basis. And you can't. But what you can find is that everybody's taking a turn of screwing something up. And sometimes, like, when that's happening, often, like, if they time it for the same play, it's like, oh, one play is a train wreck and it's a catastrophe and everything else is fine, and that nobody really notices. But when everybody takes a turn and they're evenly distributed throughout the offense, now everything is broken. Because if those mistakes are actually play defining on every single instance, it's like now nothing functions.
That was the Bucs Brady's last year.
Yeah.
Remember, like, they would be, oh, Brady hit a deep ball, there's a holding penalty.
Right.
Then there's another play, nobody's open. Then they're open and he misses them.
So
then
that's what
pressure. You know, is one person screwing up on every single play.
And that's what I think you're seeing, right? Is that, like, Breece Hall had a reasonable enough game. Garrett Wilson was great in this game. Tyler Conklin had an amazing touchdown catch. But, like, everywhere there's something screwing it up, right? Like, there's a big punt return from Marcus Jones happens in here. Like, there's just a play here or there that's screwing them. And then Greg Zuerlein ends up being the difference, who's just forgotten how to kick recently. And now they're, like, Greg Zuerlein's misses are costing them games directly. But, I mean, I said this in the Instant Reaction show. The fact that Greg Zuerlein is the difference between winning and losing these games is itself the problem. Like, yes, he's an obvious scapegoat. And honestly, the way kickers work in today's NFL, cut him, find the next guy, I don't care. But the fact that that is the difference at the moment is the problem, not the fact that your kicker, like, it's sort of, if you were focusing on that and going, we have to get rid of the kicker, now we're fixed, like, that's missing the broader problem, which is that the execution of everything is off. And I think you're right that, like, in a normal team, you could put some of that on the quarterback, you put some of that in the coaching. In this team, where you've already fired the coach, you don't have too many places to turn beyond Aaron Rodgers. Like, even if it's not his fault, the responsibility rests on his shoulders to find a way out of it, because he's the guy, he's the savior.
That's the one thing that I've been highlighting over the last few weeks, where if you're going to, as analysts, it's not like a throw-for-throw thing with Rodgers, but if you want to put the totality of the thing where Aaron Rodgers comes in and he's got this power, and it feels like he's more powerful than the head coach and the GM, right? Like, we've been
certainly more powerful than the head coach now.
Certainly than the head coach.
That the head coach got fired.
And I'm saying the difference between Rodgers going to a new team and what, say, Peyton Manning did with the Broncos or Brady did with the Bucs or whatever, they just became part of a team where the head coach was still in charge. And I don't know, is that why the defense is failing more than it has in recent years? Is that why special teams is failing more than it has in the past? I don't know. I mean, is that too extreme to put all of that on Rodgers? I'm not going to be too extreme compared to what you're going to hear if you watch shouty shows, or you're going to hear these clips this week. Aaron Rodgers needs to retire. I mean, the guy led the fourth quarter comeback, and the defense gave it up. And you got to credit the Patriots and Brissett. Brissett makes a huge play under pressure to make a throw down the field. And they made the plays in the end to get that final touchdown. Ramondre Stevenson on 4th and 1 runs it in. The whole game on the line. Ramondre Stevenson runs it in. 1 yard gain, 1 yard touchdown for the Patriots to get the win. And we've got some futility tweets to get to.
Have we? What do we got?
I got a few.
Okay.
Rich Cimini, the Jets beat writer, said the Jets are the second team this century to lose 5 straight games when they weren't underdogs of at least 3 points in any of them. The last one was the 2015 Falcons. Kyle Shanahan, offensive coordinator there. Shanahan's in some pretty good, we should have been better, futility, history stuff. So Jets lost 5 straight games, and then this one, Jets had no turnovers, held the Patriots to 247 yards, and still lost, also from Rich Cimini here. They were the first team to lose a game in which they did not turn the ball over and held their opponent under 250 yards since Week 3 of 2012. In 2012, it was Aaron Rodgers and the Packers who lost to the Seahawks in the Hail Mary game. Remember that? Monday Night Football, contested possession, Hail Mary. Since that game, teams to do that.
So that shouldn't count.
Had been, because there was replacement refs, 220-0 until today.
I wonder what the previous one prior to that was, because that effectively, that should have an asterisk next to it, right? The last time this happened was a game where the result genuinely should have been the opposite, but for a bad call, right? On the game defining play. How long did we extend it previously to that if you take away the fake result? Like, that's how improbable this loss was.
That's because, so FBG Chase, Football Perspective, similar tweet. So let's add all. This is your football. You love this. You love the football stats. Jets scored 20-plus points, committed no turnovers, and held their opponent under 250 yards of offense. From 1940 until yesterday, teams were 756-0 when they hit those 3 metrics. Now, is that contradictory to what Rich put out there? No, because Chase added the 20-plus points here.
Yeah.
Because the Packers-Seahawks game was 14-12.
Right.
So the Jets are the only team since pre-World War II. Middle of World War II? When did it start?
Yes.
38?
Well,
39?
pre for you, mid for the rest of the world.
Pre-America.
You guys were late to it.
As Churchill said, if you score 20-plus points, don't commit any turnovers, and hold the defense, and the defense holds the other team under 250, you will win. Churchill said this.
Right, unless you're Aaron
And he
Rodgers.
was right 756 times in a row.
Yeah.
And then Aaron Rodgers' Jets are the only team to lose in that situation.
Yeah. They really should have won the game, is the bottom line.
Amazing. Pretty amazing. Anything else? Anything else to add to this?
No, not really. Other than, I do think that the Jets should find another kicker. Greg Zuerlein
At this point,
does appear to have forgotten how to kick the ball.
That'll be the big Tuesday morning.
That is a problem.
That'll be the Monday news story. We're gonna find another kicker.
They're in a tough spot though. Like they've made the big move, right? You fire the head coach. There's not much more you can do, and you made the Devontae Adams trade. You're kind of out of radical solutions to this. Like, I don't know what the fix is anymore. There's no more, magic. I mean, Woody Johnson's quote the other week of thinking is overrated, just do. What's the obvious knee-jerk just do coming out of this other than fire the kicker?
I mean, we have some, longtime listener, Andrew Boll, has tweeted, emailed us and said, hey, where do the Jets go from here? Like,
Embrace the darkness.
Embrace the darkness. It's the only thing to do.
Where is it?
Even from New England's perspective, coming off a week where they had the team soft deal, and I mean, we said in the pregame show, it's like Gerard Mayo's calling the team soft, head-to-head with Devontae Adams, his big speech that we're better than this. Apparently they're not. But the Patriots, I mean, from their perspective, kind of needed something. But even when you go back, it's like, all right, they gave up the fourth quarter lead. They dropped 4 first downs. But in the end, Jacoby Brissett made some big plays. Ramondre Stevenson made some couple nice runs for touchdowns. And they did enough to make Jets fans sad.
I have the Rodgers quotes about the darkness. Do we want it in a Bane voice or just Rodgers?
Whatever you prefer. I mean, you can't do Rodgers' voice, so you just.
That's true. I can't do Rodgers. I probably can't do Bane's voice either. But anyway, okay. Rodgers quote. Jeff Olberg apparently also talked about the darkness, so it's a theme now in the Jets. Yeah, I've been in the darkness. Rodgers said via SNY postgame. You've got to go in there, make peace with it. Offensively, our goal just has to be to score 30 points. Doesn't matter what the other two sides of the ball are doing. We have in our defense and special teams, but we're not scoring. We're underachieving. This offense can do that every single week. Anyway, the first part of being the key. I've been in the darkness. You've got to go in there, make peace with it.
I'm just excited that we get to make peace with watching the Jets on Thursday night this week against the Texans. They get to come right back in prime time in front of everybody. So if your shouty shows, if your shouty show takes, you get till Thursday to get them out. Get them out today. Get them out by Wednesday. Thursday, Friday's going to be gold. It's like a double shouty show week. If they lose Thursday night on prime, 2-7, it's going to be special. It's going to be special.
They might take over from the Browns as the sort of must-watch car crash TV of the week.
Tyler, head to toe in Browns gear back there.
Mm-hmm.
Very excited about the win here.
We'll get to
They have
that.
the same number of wins. Yeah, we will get to that soon. We done with this one?
Yep.
Good win for New England. Indianapolis Colts at the Houston Texans. Texans get the win 23-20. The whole 4 o'clock witching hour thing, the whole thing was wild. I wasn't actually watching Red Zone. I was trying to, popcorn between each game live. But I hear Red Zone was getting crazy. This was one of them as well. Texans moved to 6-2 with the win. Colts fall to 4-4. There's some Anthony Richardson futility discussion in this one as well. A lot to discuss here, but the Texans escaped the win. They tried to hand it away, man. Fumbling, a handoff. This has happened a bunch. It ruins all of your, intelligible analysis is when teams like the 49ers just fumble. Like they're up a score and they just fumble in the red zone against Arizona. The Texans tried to do that. Running the clock out, running the game out, and they fumble, give the Colts another opportunity. But unlike Jaden Daniels, Anthony Richardson was unable to get the final Hail Mary out of his hand.
I don't know what you're talking about. Richardson had like 90 more passing yards than Jared Goff yesterday. I think everything's fine.
That's a good point. Richardson was 2 for 15 for 81 yards in the first half. As I said on the review show last night, I want to start something. I want it to catch on. I want box scoreigami. So everybody said when the box score is so extreme and ridiculous, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't literally have to be like, this is the only time we've ever seen this. But I like the extreme box score stats, right? When Jerome Bettis goes 5 carries for -3 yards with, 5 carries, -1 yard, 3 touchdowns that one game. Box scoreigami. I love that. Anthony Richardson going 2 for 15 for 81 yards and a touchdown. That has to be.
You need the Pro Football Reference people to get started.
Will they sponsor this for us?
They reached out to me wanting me to be a brand ambassador for them at one point, and I just
you didn't
forgot.
ignore them.
I may have ignored them. Not
all right. As check the mic. Let's be brand ambassadors for.
I just forgot to get back to them.
Let's be brand ambassadors for Football Reference.
But
and let's get box scoreigami.
Hey Sam, we're currently looking for Pro Football Reference brand ambassadors. But point being, you need them to start fighting. Let's do a deal, right? I'll be your brand ambassador if you create Steve's box scoreigami thing.
All right, let's do that. Let's do it. Now, the two for 15, as you mentioned on the show last night. It's not all on Anthony Richardson. He threw a couple nice passes in there. He threw in this game, 2 dimes into the end zone that were incomplete. So it's not all horrible.
Yeah, there are 2 drops in there that came on Richardson's 2 big-time throws. He had 3 big-time throws in the game, 2 of which were dropped. So that's going to skew your stats. Of course,
Goodson.
On the other side of the ledger is the big play that he had. Like he had 81 yards, 60 of which or whatever came on the one play to Josh Downs, which was wide the hell open, and either one of us could have made that pass. So, the stats giveth, the stats taketh away.
Yeah. We've got Josh Dubois. I've got all sorts of completion percentage. Oh, so Josh Dubois used the same tweet I did, actually. Anthony Richardson currently has the lowest completion percentage of any quarterback in the NFL of the last 20 years, other than Josh Freeman in 2013. Josh Freeman was at 42.9%. Anthony Richardson is at 44.4%. Freeman's 2013, of course, and one of the people in my mentions reminded me of this, the worst quarterback game I've ever seen in my life, because the person in my mention said the same thing. I said, yeah, I think that's universally acknowledged, right? Was it the Giants had just signed him or something?
The Vikings, right?
The Vikings. It was against the
signed
Giants.
him. Yeah.
The Vikings signed him, threw him out there on Monday Night Football, and he must have missed 30 throws.
Right.
It was the worst. Poor guy. It was the worst quarterback performance I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Now, Anthony Richardson's not playing that poorly.
Richardson, his stats are mind-blowing because every single one of them looks like it belongs in a box score from like the 50s. right? When passing hadn't really become a consistent, like when that cliche of when you pass the ball, 3 things can happen and 2 of them are bad. When that was like
it was true back then.
Right. When that was like the genuine prevailing line of thought, that's what Richardson's stats look like. Where they look like they belong in a world where passing itself as a concept is a psychotically dangerous, ridiculously volatile thing to be doing.
All right, I got some numbers for you then. So there's that one with lowest completion percentage since 06. Josh Freeman, Anthony Richardson. Then you have Derek Anderson, Tim Tebow, and John Skelton.
Wow.
In 2011, we got the John Skelton mention in.
Drink
John Skelton. So we've got that. Anthony Richardson currently has, in the PFF era, our friends at PFF, the highest average depth of target in a season at this very moment. It is Anthony Richardson at 13.3, followed by 2011 Tim Tebow at 13.2, go Gators. And then 2006 Michael Vick, 2010 Vince Young, 2022 Jameis Winston, and then I added a 6th in there. Do you know who's 6th on this list? Highest average depth of target in a season since 2006. You won't know. You won't know.
Okay.
2009, Bruce Gradkowski.
Bruce.
11.7. Former colleague Bruce Gradkowski, current OC of the St. Louis Battlehawks, if they keep him around, I think.
And like,
if I raise my voice high enough, I'll sound less confident.
Motivational Instagrammer.
And new motivational has he taken it to Instagram, or is it just Twitter now?
No, it's definitely on Instagram. That's where I've been seeing it.
Former colleague
I
Bruce.
follow too many people on Twitter to ever find it on Twitter, but he's definitely out there on IG.
I should follow him for the inspiration.
Even just in this game, right? So average depth of target for C.J. Stroud, 7.8. Average yards per attempt for C.J. Stroud, 7.7. Almost the same. Average depth of target for Anthony Richardson, 16.5 yards downfield. That's ludicrous in and of itself. Average yards per attempt out of those 16.5 yard average depth of target, 5.5. So he's taking, on average, he's shooting 16.5 yards downfield, and that's producing on average a 5.5 yard gain.
Yeah, it's all wild stuff, man. And look, I think 2 of his best throws.
Yes.
A.D. Mitchell in the end zone where he gets knocked out of bounds by Stingley.
Their ability to not connect this season, Richardson and A.D. Mitchell, is mind-blowing.
So that's one of them. And then the other one, Devin White made his NFL debut. His season debut for the Texans. He got whooped on the deep ball to Mike Goodson. Had 2 steps on him, and Goodson dropped it. So Richardson had some good throws in there. The worst play of the game came right before the half. Was it a tie game at the time? As I'm checking, it was 10-10. And just before the half, they're backed up. The Colts throw the ball twice. One of them,
Tyler Goodson, you meant.
Tyler Goodson. Who did I say? Mike?
Mike.
Yeah, whatever. How many Goodson running backs are there? 2.
How many can there be?
Mike and Tyler. Thank you for correcting me, though. That's good. -1 for me. Misname. Told you. I told you I would.
Correcting the misinformation.
I appreciate it.
On
now
the
we're
fly.
good. Now we're clear.
Now that we don't have our live data checker in Ben.
I know.
Fact
Ben,
checker.
do you still watch us or what? What the heck? It's probably working.
Working.
So it's 10-10 before the half.
Yeah.
Richardson throws a near interception, which wasn't on him. Receiver fell down, right? Next pass, though, completely on him. Jalen Petrie picks him off, and it sets up beautiful C.J. Stroud to Tank Dell touchdown. Great throw by C.J. Stroud for a 7-yard touchdown. I mean, that was just bad. That was bad. You might want to call it bad game management by the Colts, but also clearly a bad decision by Anthony Richardson, and throwing a pick just before the half put the Texans up 17-10. They went up 20-10. Colts did their best to get back into it, but it wasn't enough. And so that was a huge play just before the half, and that's what put Richardson at 2 for 15 at the half. Joe Mixon had a really nice 14-yard touchdown run. Interesting on that, Kenyon Green, starting left guard, had been benched. Jarrett Patterson came in for him, makes a beautiful block on this play, but it comes out of that game on this play with a concussion. Kenyon Green had to come back in. He's really struggled. I mean, D'Amico Ryans had talked. Remember last week the Texans were really struggling in pass protection, got whooped by the Packers offensively. They said they might make some changes. Well, Kenyon Green was the change, but he had to come back in after the concussion to Jarrett Patterson. And then just wanted to highlight Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. Tons of pressures, big sacks by Danielle Hunter, big plays
Anderson
throughout the game.
had a really good one as well.
Yes.
Yeah, those two are absolute monsters for them. The Colts got a ton of pressure on C.J. Stroud as well, actually. Like, their defense did a reasonable job of hanging tough for a lot of this game. Like, they had him under pressure a lot. The other two things coming out of this game, number one, Stephon Diggs goes down with not quite a non-contact injury because he was sort of engaged in a block at the time, but a non-contact in the way of the contact was not to the knee. You know, he's just engaged in a block, and then suddenly it's like, oh man, my knee's sore. As far as I can tell at the moment, there's no update as to how severe that is, but non-contact knee injuries tend to be not good. So that's a real concern for a team that's already down Nico Collins. You know, you're like, oh, it's okay. We still got Tank Dell. We still got Stephon Diggs. Now you might not have Stephon Diggs. That could be a real problem for the Texans going forward. And then the other thing, the only thing anyone's going to be talking about today is Richardson tapped himself out of the game because he was tired.
Yeah, we had to bring that up as well. So it's second and long. He's scrambling around and gets stopped for, I don't know if it was officially a sack or a 0-yard gain or whatever, but he's running around forever, and he taps his helmet, he tapped himself out. Mm-hmm. And our guy, Ari Mayrov, says, QB Anthony Richardson, on taking himself out of the game, quote, tired, I ain't gonna lie. That was a lot of running there that I did, so I just told Shane I needed a break right there, end quote. So he tapped out on a second down play. It set up a third and long play. Flacco came in. They did a quick handoff and set up a field goal attempt. I saw Pat McAfee didn't like this. Pat was saying that's gonna be a thing. It's gonna be a thing in the locker room.
Yeah.
Now, I swear I've seen this before with Michael Vick.
You need to.
So
you
I
said
went,
that. You need to.
I have to. So I last night I was supposed to be grinding film, and I'm over there knocking out. Like, I'm looking through 02 to 05 YouTube videos to try to find this Michael Vick. I even went to the foremost authority on NFL football between 01 and 08. I went to Nate Tice.
Okay.
And I DM'd him, and I said, I swear I've seen this before. He didn't remember offhand. He asked if McNabb had done it. I said, no, McNabb, he just probably puked and rallied, right? If he ran around, he would puke on the field and he would stick it out, right? He would not tap out.
Not to give drive-bys to McNabb on this show, but it does kind of sound like the thing McNabb would do.
What?
Just to tap himself
out. Oh, no, he would not. The man would puke on the field and play through it, right? I swear, and I haven't found it yet. I might do some research this week.
Yeah.
I swear I've seen plays where Michael Vick ran around forever. It was a 40-yard run, and he missed a snap or two. You know, Matt Schaub comes in for a handoff or whatever it might be. We don't have player participation from back then. It's tough to find. But I swear I've seen it before with Vick. So is this – what are your thoughts on this? Because the guy was running around like crazy. You don't see these types of plays often. And he basically said, yeah, I'm tired. I need a breather on this third and long. Yeah.
So that's the thing is that –
which, by the way, I misreported him as being injured, right? Because I'm watching the game.
Well, it looked like
it's on mute.
Right.
I'm seeing the replays. They're showing the hit. So I said, hey, he's out of the game injured because, look, he gets injured every game. But he was just tired. So I misreported that too.
It looked like so it was a sort of quintessential Richardson play because he looked like he was about to get sacked, shucks off a sack from like a defensive tackle, right? Like shrugs out of this.
Yeah.
What was a dead play behind the line of scrimmage, takes off running, and then like launches himself into a hit, you know, from a linebacker. Like, dude, and it's like he's got himself injured again by like trying to take on this guy in the open field when, you know, just take the gain or take the positive part of the play and bail, right? But it wasn't. He was just tired and just wanted out of the play. Now the problem is, as you said, if it has happened in the past with Michael Vick, and I think what has definitely happened is Vick has taken off, scrambled 85 yards to gain 4, and then is wrecked for the next play, and so the next play is a draw, right, to the running back or whatever. The problem is, as you said, I haven't found what was the play, what was the actual down and distance. Have you verified that? But if the next play was third and long, you can't just hand it off to Jonathan Taylor, right? You need the quarterback to play again. So that, I think, is his problem.
Just before.
This
was in the first half.
There's Pat McAfee's tweet. I had never seen an NFL quarterback tap out while still being healthy until watching Anthony Richardson. The quarterback is your franchise. The message it sends is loud and influential. I do think that's probably true. in this, like the NFL locker room is still a world of you go out in your shield, you play until you can't play anymore. If Richardson simply was like, no, that was quite a lot of running, I'm tired, I'm going to need a break for a second, that can't be a good signal to send, especially for a guy struggling as badly as he is right now. It would be one thing if he was playing absolutely lights out, if he was 100% carrying the team, if it was all on his shoulders, he's dragging them to victories they're not supposed to have. It's an entirely different thing if it's not clear that he's a better option than Joe Flacco right now, which is where they are.
It was 3rd and goal from the 23.
The upcoming down.
The upcoming down.
Okay.
So all of his running around on 2nd and 20, I think it was 2nd and 23. I don't know what they officially gave him, 0 yards, 1 yard, whatever. It was 2nd and goal from forever.
Right.
He gets tackled at the line of scrimmage, taps out on a 3rd and goal from the 23.
So that's the problem, is that
like the play's not going anywhere. You're not scoring a touchdown on that. You're setting up a field goal. That particular play doesn't matter.
Right. But I think it's easier to tap out if you know that the next play is 2nd and whatever, and you can just hand the ball off to a nothing run. It's a little more difficult if theoretically it's still a critical down. Now I agree with you in practical terms. 3rd and goal from forever is not amounting to anything, but you can't just the quarterback. It looks even worse if the quarterback just like we just handed the ball off because the quarterback was tired.
I think it looks worse if it's 3rd and 3.
I mean,
he's down, and he's like,
obviously.
nah, man, I'm out.
Yeah.
Too tired.
It looks even worse if
Yeah.
it's actually a manageable and an achievable 3rd down. But the fact that it was 3rd down means that you can't just do what Vic may have done before and said, I'm tired, the next play has to be a handoff.
What Vic may have done, as you said, I don't want to accuse Michael Vick of this, and I wouldn't even say this from a critical standpoint. I just remember seeing him exhausted.
No, I think that part is
when he would run.
I think that part is true.
Yeah.
The questionable part that you need to fact check is if he ever actually tapped himself out of the game because he was tired.
Yeah, he may have been exhausted and just like handed the ball off a couple times.
That's what I'm saying.
Like they couldn't run the same.
Because that's the
plays.
alternative,
Yeah.
right? Like you're saying, okay, if Richardson shouldn't have come off because he was tired, what should he have done? The obvious answer is, well, just hand the ball off the next play, right, and recover. But that might not, like that, I don't think is really, I mean, it's possible, but I don't think that would be a good look either because it's 3rd down and theoretically you're still trying to, score.
The only other thing coming out of this game was Josh Downs is awesome.
Yep.
And made a beautiful catch, put him down at the 1. He had the busted coverage, 60-plus yarder. But Josh Downs, very good football player.
In the world of, interesting stats, did you know this is only the 2nd time ever that the Houston Texans have swept the Colts?
Did not know that.
There you go.
Since 2002. Since our college days, Sam.
Since their inception.
Good for the Texans. We'll get to see them again Thursday night. Sorry for less Texans coverage maybe there, but Stroud had a couple really nice throws. Loved that touchdown. And like I said, the defensive line with some big plays to slow down the Colts and to sack Richardson 5 times in this game.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get to Jameis.
Let's go.
A mighty roar from the sound booth. The Cleveland Browns have won a football game. 29-24. They moved to 2-6.
Against the Baltimore Ravens. That's not just won a football game, but knocked off a team that was 1 or 1A in terms of the best team in the NFL over the last few weeks.
Yeah, they did. This was the full Jameis experience. We've got sound on his pregame speeches, his postgame speeches. He preached sermons.
All right.
He had dropped interceptions.
Yeah.
He had deep touchdowns. He had a 300-yard game, something Deshaun Watson's never done as a Browns quarterback. I mean, just the whole gamut of everything.
He's only 1 touchdown away as well from tying Deshaun Watson in terms of passing touchdowns for the Browns.
We all season we'd sit on here. We're like, hey, why is offense down? Why is the offense down? Why is offense down around the league?
Deshaun Watson.
Jameis comes back 1 week, and Scott Hanson's like, thanks for joining us on Red Zone. Most touchdowns we've had all season. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, you lose Watson, you add Winston. Here, look at the comparison. It's not even close.
Wait, is he 2 touchdowns away? I thought he had another one.
Well, he had 1 last week, so Jameis has 4 on the season.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so he's 1 away from.
You're calling out our graphics people for being wrong. Is that what you're doing there?
No, this is Reed Winston week 8.
Oh, week 8. Sorry,
this
I
is
just
his
read
week
this season.
8 against Watson this season.
I just read this season. I
Yeah.
thought it was like for like. Anyway, so he's 1 touchdown away. I do find it's funny though. So we've had to get rid of all the Deshaun Watson futility tweets because he's no longer there, right?
No,
but
they're
now
back,
there's
baby.
a whole world of Deshaun Watson versus Jameis Winston tweets. Jameis Winston, 300-yard games, 1 in 1 start. Deshaun Watson, 300-yard games in 3 seasons with the Browns, 0. That's fascinating. Somebody else had the tweet. Where did I have that queued up? I forgot who actually had it.
Flacco, Winston, and
Believeland Brits podcast had this stat that the Browns have had a 300-yard passer in each of the last 5 games in the regular season and the playoff games, 6, that Deshaun Watson did not start for the Browns. So Watson, 0 300-yard games. And every single game that he hasn't started for 6 straight games with the Browns, they've had a 300-yard passer. That's how terrible he's been.
It's unbelievable, really. And look, I mean, he had dropped interceptions too. We've got 1:08 left in the game. Browns trying to make the comeback. There's an overthrow. Kyle Hamilton drops the interception. I mean, that would have ended the game. And even if that happened, I would say Browns still look better.
I mean, he had multiple. As you said, it was the full Jameis experience.
There was one in the end zone that I saw, not trying to call out Seth Walder from ESPN, but it was his...
Sounds a lot like that's what you're doing.
His tone in the tweet was like, Jameis has all day to throw, then throws it right to a Raven. Elijah Moore stopped on the route. There was like a miscommunication on the scramble drill there. So there's a dropped interception in the end zone for Jameis. There was a dropped deep ball by Marcus Williams. I mean, there was some drop. Like, he's got some turnover-worthy plays in there. There was a strip sack by Kyle Hamilton. But that's the thing, right? There was also tight window throws to David Njoku. There's the bomb to Cedric Tillman for the touchdown. Like, Winston has both ends of the volatility. Now, next week, he might have those 3 picks. He might have 3 picks. But he's given you a chance. This was the full Flacco. This was every game last year we were like, hey, Flacco made this decision and this decision. Got away with this one, got away with that one. But at the end of the day, you see Elijah Moore, Cedric Tillman, Jerry Jeudy, and David Njoku all finishing with over 55 catches, over 60 yards for all of them.
Yeah.
Get guys involved, and you create these big plays.
Like, this was the point when everybody was sort of appealing to Kevin Stefanski every single week. Hey, are you going to make a change? You know, when is it time for Jameis? And he's like, no, Deshaun Watson's the guy. This was why, right? It's not that Jameis Winston is particularly good. He isn't. Like, he's not a
he's
great
good.
quarterback.
He's fine. He's good, but go ahead.
It's not that he's a particularly good quarterback. He is, at best, an average NFL quarterback. He will create a ton of negative plays, but he will also create the positive. That's the point, is that Watson was creating no positive plays, almost nothing, and was also making a bunch of negative plays. So you might as well throw in the guy that, he'll make some mistakes, but he'll also create a ton of positive. He'll raise, the level of everybody else around him just by throwing the ball YOLO style and giving people a chance to make plays. Some of it will be bad, right? Like throwing it into double coverage deep downfield, and it should have been picked off. That's not great. But overall, simply having a guy out there to just go, let's give this a shot. Number 1, creates a bunch of positive plays that the other guy's not creating. And number 2, massively spikes the level of vibes through the roof. And that's really the important part. Jameis Winston has just absolutely turbocharged the vibes in Cleveland.
All right, throw it to the vibes. Let's go. Let's get to Jameis's pregame. I mean, when we talk about QB leadership and elevating those around you, who wouldn't want to play for Jameis Winston? Let's hear the pregame.
Hey, opportunities come once in a lifetime. And with those opportunities, we have to make the most of it. Every one of us have an individual responsibility to go out there and fight for each other. Represent the names on your back, represents the names that's on your helmet. Well, we don't got no decal. So represent the Browns, all right? One play at a time, all right? Together. All right, here we go. 7 on 3, 1, 2, 3, family, let's get it.
I mean, he can be serious and motivational and funny all at the same time.
Yeah, though not intentionally.
That's the best part.
Yeah.
That's the best
Jameis,
part.
unintentional genius.
Yeah. I mean, and then he's just like, who wouldn't want to? You think Deshaun Watson's doing that?
No.
You think
no,
Deshaun Watson's firing the guy? I haven't seen one clip of a Deshaun Watson pregame speech.
No, it's true.
Probably for the better. Probably.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when your quarterback is doing that, that's why the safeties drop the interceptions.
That's why. Yeah.
That is why it happens.
Uh-huh.
Because of Jameis.
But the important thing is, I think, post-game. We really need to hear Jameis' take on the game.
Tie it all together.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Jameis Winston making your first start since 2022. The word you used before the game was unwavering. How do you describe this victory?
Unwavering faith, ultimate belief, depending on the Lord. And depending on the Lord should have been first. He gets all the glory. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you for this win.
Talk to me about your team and the way they showed up today. Coming off 5 consecutive losses. No one would have blamed you guys if you gave up. How did your guys show up this week in practice to get it done today against the Baltimore Ravens?
One play at a time. We fought. We gave everything that we could possibly give. Thank you for the offensive line. Thank you for the defensive line of winning the trenches. And thank you for the Browns fans for coming up and standing up and helping us get a victory here at home.
It's not often that you get another opportunity like you have just received in the NFL. What does it mean to lead these guys and what could be the start of what you said is something special moving forward?
Man, it's a white boy from Detroit that I really admire named Eminem. He said, you only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity lasts once in a lifetime. And I know I got a quote, Eminem, he from Detroit, he right up the road, but man, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that the Lord provided me with this opportunity. I'm grateful for my teammates, my coaches, and these amazing fans.
Unbelievable performance.
I have literally never seen a single human being in a 3-answer sequence thank Jesus, his offense and defensive line, and then Eminem sequentially.
That's the first time since 1940 that's ever happened.
I believe
NFL teams with a quarterback are 752 and 752 since 1940 in games in which quarterbacks didn't do that. And they're 1-0 in games in which the quarterbacks thanked Jesus, the trenches, and Eminem.
I would go so far as to say that's the first time in human history that sequence of thanks has ever happened, right? We're getting close to Thanksgiving. People sit there, what are we thankful for? Jameis is the only human that's ever walked this planet, right? Billions of these people who've lived, died, etc. Jameis is the only one ever that has thanked Jesus, his offense and defensive line, and then Eminem.
Yeah. His ability to morph from Sunday sermon to quoting Eminem was impressive.
Masterful.
Unbelievable. And that guy's been sitting on the bench in the NFL the last 2 years.
Finally freed.
Every stat that I put out there, hey guys, average depth of targets down, scoring's down. It's since he's been a backup.
So I'm kind of torn between, like, on the one hand, it's great, like people like Tyler, right? He's been sitting there just crying his way through the season because the Browns have been a miserable cesspit, right? Now it's all good vibes. Jameis is bringing this back. It's like everything's good. So on the one hand, you feel great for people like Tyler because they're finally getting a W out of this, right? And the vibes are through the roof. On the other hand, like, this is not a feel-good story for the Browns organization. They were trying to start DTR. Jameis only out there because DTR hurt his hand. And we're like, I guess we got to turn it over to Jameis. Fine. I guess we'll do that.
Why has that been? Well, I don't know why that's been happening.
Every step of the way, this organization has been shooting itself in the foot at the quarterback position. Like, obviously, the Deshaun Watson thing is its own, like, nuclear meltdown of train wreck. But then the solution to that, once they were finally, forced into it because of an Achilles injury, was, let's see what DTR can bring to the table. Whereas the answer has been staring them in the face all season, which is just give Jameis the keys.
I mean, but it also, say what you want about the QB decisions. I made my take on I got to remember last week's show. I got to clip this because my take that I thought I was concise enough that you shouldn't judge GMs by their QB decisions. Right? Especially if it's just one or two. You should judge it by the rest. When the bad QB decision gets hurt, Watson, you see all of the other good decisions that the Browns have made when, believe it or not, Joe Flacco and Jameis Winston are at the helm. When you put those guys at quarterback over the last 2 years, you have a much more explosive offense. Kevin Stefanski was coach of the year last year. You have Jameis putting up over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. You have Cedric Tillman. Oh, look, they have a find in Cedric Tillman. Oh, look, Elijah Moore trade kind of looks smart now. Oh, look, Jerry Jeudy's catching more than one pass in 3 weeks. David Njoku is just like unbelievable. Oh, he's breaking out now when Deshaun Watson's not playing football. And you see the defense. The defense deserves a ton of credit because they made life difficult. They had a lot of pressure on Lamar Jackson, and a lot of his game was tight window throws and scrambling and having to, make something out of nothing. And Lamar did create a lot of big plays. They did create a lot of big plays, but the defense did a nice job. But so for whatever reason, Winston, Flacco, no Deshaun Watson, everything looks better with the Browns. I don't know if they're going to go win 10 games now after starting 2-6.
Right.
But they're giving themselves a shot where they had 0. This is the first time they scored more than just 20 points since week 17 of last year when, of course, Flacco was out there.
It's impossible to overstate the futility of Deshaun Watson at quarterback. Like, it is a completely different team. And again, Jameis Winston, it's not like he's great. It will be, he's not, it's not like you're looking at the Bengals and like Joe Burrow is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. As long as they have him, they can win every single game. He's not that, but it's a completely different offense because Deshaun Watson was that bad. And we called the defense, right, going into this game. Like, don't overlook the idea that Deshaun Watson not being there will have a galvanizing effect on the defense as well. That's how badly he was playing on offense. The defense was a totally different proposition. They didn't get sacks necessarily, but Myles Garrett had a ton of pressure. Zadarius Smith had a ton of pressure. On the other side, Kyle Hamilton was spectacular for the Ravens. There were some defensive performances in this game, despite all the points, that were really impressive.
Lamar was under pressure on 23 of his 47 dropbacks, almost half. Again, a lot of those were like Myles Garrett's winning, moving him off the spot, and Lamar's doing what he can to avoid the sack and create something. But Jameis was only pressured 11 out of 45 dropbacks. We talked about the Browns' offensive line being horrible. They weren't picking up blitzes and stunts. And so when I like to talk about isolating the quarterback, but then there's other times where it's tough to isolate and you look at the totality. In the Watson era, the totality of the offense was awful. And they weren't picking up blitzes and stunts. And he was under pressure and he was getting sacked 4 or 5 times a game. And Jameis is just sacked twice in this game.
Yeah.
And that's where the futility stats as a whole, Watson probably deserves more blame than even when you just isolate his individual performance.
That's the thing. Like, the offensive line was not as bad as it was being made look by Deshaun Watson. Now, look, Wyatt Teller was back in this game, so they upgraded, right?
Helps.
But this offensive line, I think, will look better with Jameis at quarterback, who's not necessarily a particularly offensive line-friendly quarterback. It will look better than it did with Watson, again, because Watson was that bad. I have 3 things that I want to touch on at this game. You talk about,
We're just getting started.
I noticed things that, you like some of the things I noticed.
Oh, I love hearing the things you notice. Yeah, what is it?
3rd and 14, bomb to Rashad Bateman. Loses it in the sun, drops the ball. Huge game, potentially altering play.
Blame Jerry Jones.
Huh?
Blame Jerry Jones. I dare you.
No. He also stumbled on that. I don't know that he actually lost that ball in the sun. And I think a couple of times yesterday, I think receivers have started defaulting to just – it was the sun. I lost in the sun. Sorry, my bad.
I mean, it's just anybody that's played sports. Like when you throw a bad pitch, you turn, you look at the dirt, kick the dirt, and the dirt did it.
Turf monster got me.
Bateman's like, he stumbled, The sun.
Lost it.
He starts looking up.
What can I do?
Jerry Jones built the stadium this way. I can't – wait, we're in Cleveland.
That was an amazing play by Lamar, and Bateman screws him by dropping that.
Yeah.
Number 2. This was last play of the game. Hail Mary attempt. Lamar moves to right field. I think Zadarius maybe is chasing him out there. He just sidesteps him, takes him out of the play like he's not even there. He's at like the 40 at this point. Has literally nobody between him and the end zone. He's even closer, actually. He's at the 30-something. Nobody between him and the end zone. Now, obviously, there's a bunch of people in the end zone preparing for the pass. I want Lamar Jackson to run that ball and try and score from the 30-yard line. I think that there is a better chance of Lamar Jackson beating 1 or 2 guys and getting into the end zone from 30 yards out than there is of somebody catching that pass in the end zone, delivering it from him. Remember earlier in the season, they had a last play of the game and they did pitchy woo-woo, and Lamar ended up again at like midfield with 1 guy between him and the end zone, and at that exact moment, he chose to pitch the ball to somebody.
Let him run it.
I want Lamar Jackson. Davante Adams described Lamar Jackson the other week as the best ball carrier in NFL history. So Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith, LaDainian Tomlinson, any great running back you can think of. The best ball carrier in NFL history, according to Davante Adams, is Lamar Jackson. And 2 times this season, with the game on the line, he has chosen to get the ball out of his hands rather than try and win the game himself. Like, he's almost the antithesis of what people think he is in terms of this, like, scrambling quarterback, running quarterback, right? He should move to wide receiver. Run the damn ball and try and score.
Oh, I would love to see it. I would love to see it. I
The
love that you
final-
noticed that.
The final thing I want to say, have you seen the theory that's going around that the Taylor Swift fans have broken Justin Tucker? Have you noticed that let's back it up a step. Have you noticed that Justin Tucker's kind of crappy now?
Yeah, when he was lining up for that one extra point too, he ended up hitting it, but he like got into his routine,
Right.
stopped. I watched like 3 special teams plays yesterday. This was one of them.
Right.
He goes up and it was like a golfer, like clearing the grass for him and everything. Swifties are strong, man.
So that's the starting point of this. Justin Tucker seems to have become bad now, having been the best kicker in the NFL for years, right? Do you understand the connection? You know where this is coming from?
Well, because he was kicking on the Chiefs' side of
There you go.
in their territory.
So he was warming up
Yeah.
on Kansas City's side of the things, and Travis Kelce obviously was the guy to take umbrage of that, grab his equipment, toss it out of the way. So the Swifties have cursed him, and now he can't kick.
I mean, Churchill warned us about that. He said, "Don't mess with Swifties."
Yeah.
So that makes sense. Your observations are great. It's one of my favorite things. I hope you guys feel the same way. I can't wait to show up on a Monday morning and figure out what'd you see? What'd you see yesterday? What'd you bring to the table? Swifty curse. Lamar should have run it in on the last one. I love it.
There's a name for it as well. I saw a tweet about it yesterday.
There's a name for it.
There is. I can't remember.
There was one other key play here because we didn't talk much about Baltimore, but missed opportunities, all the dropped interceptions that we mentioned about Jameis that he got away with. As a Ravens fan, you're sitting here kicking yourself, missed opportunities. The other missed opportunity was fourth quarter, 10:44 left. Lamar has a wide open pass, but Myles Garrett bull rushes, I think it was Stanley, right into him and hit Lamar, and he missed the wide open pass. The Browns defense has this ability to leave guys wide open sometimes, right? They give up big plays, but sometimes the pass rush saved them. That was just an example of a pressure from Garrett essentially saving a touchdown. They also had 12 men on the field, so it would have been the play was negated, but it would have been a long touchdown if the throw hit. So Garrett pressure saved the day. Classic Flacco game for Jameis.
I can't find the name of the Taylor Swift curse, but it's.
While you're looking that up, I want to tell you.
Thing.
We'll get to some more games, but you know the key to winning your fantasy league or making the right bet, Sam?
I don't. What is it?
It's all about having the best data. And that's where PFF Plus comes in. With PFF Plus, you're not just getting surface level stats, you're getting insights that power winning decisions. From in-depth fantasy projections to market-beating betting angles, PFF Plus has everything you need to stay ahead. Picture having access to player grades, positional matchup charts, and rankings that give you the upper hand on your competition. It's all backed by PFF's world-class data. So whether you're making a crucial start-sit decision or choosing a side, make sure you're doing it with the best intel out there. Visit PFF.com. Become a member today. PFF Plus, powering winning decisions. And no one knows the PFF data quite like we do, so fully endorse and appreciate all of our listeners who have joined us in our transition from PFF over here to 3013. But PFF Plus is still the place for the very best data in the world. So go check it out right now. Other 1 o'clock games, Tennessee Titans and the Detroit Lions, all sorts of, it's not even futility, it's just domination by the Lions here. 52-14. Lions move to 6-1, Titans fall to 1-6.
Yeah.
If I told you Jared Goff would finish 12 of 15 with 85 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, at one point they had, because he got sacked 4 times for -33, fumbled twice. They had, at one point, 9 net passing yards and over 30 points. How did it happen?
Well, Titans defense and Titans offense rather and special teams were terrible and kept giving the Lions the ball with not very many yards to go before scoring.
Yeah.
It's like if Ben Johnson's one of the best offensive minds in the game right now, best schemes, best play call, blah, blah, he's almost even better once you get into the red zone, right? It's like the Titans are just like, I'm interested to see what Ben Johnson has for the red zone today. Let's just give him all those plays. Let's see what he can dial up today. I'm really curious.
Yeah.
And just everything was just coming out. It's ridiculous.
4 out of the Lions' first 7 possessions started in Tennessee territory. Deep enough. Tennessee 23, 25, 12, and the 22.
It's just, it was crazy. I tweeted, or my notes very early on in the game. I'm like, the Titans defense is playing really well. Like, they're sacking Goff early. They're getting to him. I literally in the note, this is some early in the game. I'm like, it won't matter, but the Titans defense is still playing. Like, they're doing their part. Later in the game, it's like the Lions have more than 30 points in the first half, and Titans defense hasn't been playing badly. They're getting absolutely wrecked, and the defense has not been the problem. The offense and the return game is screwing them. Like, the Lions had over 30 points in the first half. They'd only gotten like 130-something yards to get those 30 points. It's insane. They were just being gifted every opportunity. They had 50 up by the end of the third quarter before they just declared and shut up shop. It's just such a bizarre game.
You know how sometimes quarterbacks, pick up tendencies from each other. Like Jordan Love starts throwing like Aaron Rodgers, right? Zach Wilson starts throwing like Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Mason Rudolph seems to have picked up Mayo's stuff.
No,
Will Levis.
I think people are forgetting that Mason Rudolph was also a terrible quarterback in his own right.
But I'm just saying. He did the, let's chuck a bad interception. He had bad interception early to one of the plays that helped set up the Lions.
Yeah.
Had a beautiful scramble for 11 yards, though.
Yep.
Like, he's had 2 awesome scrambles the last 2 weeks. Mason Rudolph has not had that. But I think playing with Will Levis has given him a little bit more confidence on the move than he had previously.
Well, so there was one play where it was like a bootleg, right? And then he just decided he could get it himself and did a sort of did a Levis copter over a defender. I think, but again, I feel like that's not a Levis tendency thing and more of a Rudolph's just not that great.
No,
like, he wanted to pass the ball, and then he was like, no, you know what? The smartest thing I can do here is not risk the pass, take the run, it's on. And then once he already committed to that decision, realized it was actually a lot closer than he thought it was in his own brain when he was running the calculation, and he was going to have to take a Levis copter in order to make it happen. Like, what you're seeing here is not the influence of Will Levis on Mason Rudolph. You're simply seeing the limitations of Mason Rudolph's mental calculations on the fly.
Dude, the Rudolph copter was not a part of his game.
But not because of any inherent desire not to do it, just because it hadn't arisen yet as a thing.
5 different Lions found the end zone in the first half.
Yep.
And then Khalif Raymond went off even more. 90-yard punt return, had a touchdown reception just in the second half alone. Had another 64-yard return. I mean, yeah, all the special teams plays. Again, I don't watch a whole lot of special teams, but when the Lions keep picking up a 72-yard kick return, a 64-yard punt return, a 90-yard punt return for a touchdown, I mean, it was just dominance by the Lions and just awful by the Titans.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, again, the Titans' defense, I don't think played badly, but they were in a no-win situation the entire thing, and the Lions were dialing up all their creative stuff. I mean, David Montgomery throws a touchdown pass. Really nice throw, by the way.
Yeah.
He apparently used to play some quarterback in high school. You can tell. I mean, it wasn't just a tight spiral. Like, that play, it was a good throw.
It is.
Like, that was a quarterback throw. And they're dialing up that kind of stuff despite already dominating.
They were up 2 scores at that point. It was still a game. It was,
no, I know, but my point is,
15,
they're dialing
13.
up the creative stuff, in the red zone, in the end zone.
I think people did they ask Ben Johnson directly? Like, hey, you're breaking out all these trick plays against the Cowboys a few weeks ago. It's like, well, they don't run out of them. I don't think they're going to run out of the creativity in Detroit.
Jahmyr Gibbs dominating.
70-yard touchdown from Gibbs. I mean, it was just big play after big play, all in the Lions' favor, and very little from the pass game, which was impressive.
From Tennessee's point of view, Calvin Ridley was having an absolutely monster game. Like, they trade away DeAndre Hopkins. The sort of narrative on Ridley through his entire career had been, he's a pretty good number 2, can't really cut it when he's the number 1 option, during the Julio Jones days in Atlanta.
Yeah.
You trade away Nuke Hopkins, now Ridley's the number 1 guy. He ends up with 10 catches for 143 yards, and most of that came in the first quarter. Like, he was cooking.
He did look good in this game, and I'm just going to stick with, wait-and-see mode here because it reminds me of Week 1 last year where he was supposed to be the one for the Jags, and he had a really dominant Week 1 for the Jags and then disappeared for 4 or 5 weeks, and it's just like every 4 or 5 weeks this would show up for Ridley. So let's see if he could build on it, but that was a great, at least from that perspective, good start for Ridley there. My question quickly, are the Titans going full fire sale now? One of the players that I was thinking, like Arden Key, is a pretty useful pass rusher for the Titans. Should he just stay in Detroit? Maybe that could be one of those, quick pickups for the Lions to help. So we haven't had to figure out what the Lions are without Aiden Hutchinson yet, right? They're just dominating these games. But at some point, they're going to have to play the best teams in the NFC and probably going to miss Aiden Hutchinson. And so are they still in the market for a pass rusher? A guy like Arden Key could be a good pickup for them.
Yeah.
But I just want to see if there is a full fire sale now in Tennessee.
I mean, I think the moment they were trading away Hopkins, that was a signal that we're out.
Hopkins, Ernest Jones last week. We might have a couple other people.
Yeah. I mean, I think people are available at that point.
Keep Arden Key in Detroit.
Keep him in. Don't let him leave the building. Yeah, so we said going into this game, this is probably going to be another week where we're not going to get a great idea of what it's like without Aiden Hutchinson, but at some point that is going to become a problem. But Levi and Wuzurike had a really good game rushing the passer. They had players. So obviously there's not much downside for Detroit in this kind of game. They were absolutely dominant. The lack of pass rush at some point may become a problem. Not lack of pass rush. They had pass rush in this game, but we assume against better teams that will no longer be the case. But Terrion Arnold, again, was not good, the rookie corner. He got wrecked by Nick Westbrook-Akine for a touchdown, just on one-on-one release at the goal line. Couldn't live with him. I wonder if that's going to become a problem. There are weaknesses for this Detroit team. It's just that everything else is so good. They're not just hiding them, but, they don't matter.
Such a hater. 52-14, Lions win, and you're finding some negatives there. It's good balance, though. All right, we got to get moving. We got a lot of games to discuss here. Green Bay Packers 30, Jacksonville Jaguars 27. Packers move to 6-2. Jags fall to 2-6. This is a pretty fun back and forth game. Jordan Love gets injured for the Packers. Malik Willis comes in and leads the comeback. The Packers were up 27-17. Jags came back to tie it at 27, but Malik Willis hits Jaden Reed for a 51-yarder, a yoink play, Sam. I don't know if you saw it. It was the yoink. We love the yoink play, right? We call it the yoink. It's called leak in NFL circles. You start on one side. It's usually tight end. Leak out, backside, beautiful throw. I believe it was Andre Sisco falls down on the play. Anyway, but Malik Willis in relief, 4 or 5 for those 56 yards and a touchdown after Jordan Love gets hurt. And nice job by the Packers escaping with the win after they almost blew the lead.
Yeah, this was fascinating, right? Because previously it's okay, what can Matt LaFleur do with Malik Willis, for a couple of games without Jordan Love, knowing that he's got time to prep and create an offense around him and have a game plan that's specific. This was the first opportunity of, what does that look like when there's no bespoke game plan? He just has to run what they've been prepping for the week for Jordan Love. It looked pretty much the same. Malik Willis was good again. Honestly, I can't say enough good things about the job Matt LaFleur has been doing as coach of the Packers generally, but this season specifically as well, the job he's done with Malik Willis. They haven't had Jordan Love for an extended period of the season, and it hasn't had a noticeable drop-off when they've lost Jordan Love.
And knowing what we know now, the fact that he got to 2 NFC championships with Aaron Rodgers.
Dragging Aaron Rodgers.
That might be his best coaching job.
2 NFC championship
grabbing Aaron. I didn't even get to use my Aaron Rodgers stat that he's got a worse winning percentage than Zach Wilson as the Jets starting quarterback. Wow. I didn't even use that. That Matt LaFleur took a 2-6 quarterback to the NFC championship a couple times. Yeah, I mean, really, really impressive what LaFleur has done. Offense obviously is his side of the ball.
Right.
So in this mix of him as the coach with the Packers, you brought Rodgers to 2 MVPs. You developed Jordan Love. And now getting Malik Willis, like you said, 2-0 in games that you're prepping for, but now in a relief outing, being able to make those plays and scheming up the game-winning, essentially the game-winning play to Jaden Reed was fantastic. Mm-hmm. This game reminded me of what you used to talk about with Andrew Luck, and I think there's a lot of proxy of Trevor Lawrence to Andrew Luck. We put the fire out. I mean, what is it? Create the fire, set the fire, and then put it out all at the same time.
Getting credit for putting out the fire that you started in the first place.
So Trevor Lawrence, very much the starter, the fire starter in this one, right? Throws in 2 turnovers from inside his own 5-yard line. One, an interception to Xavier McKinney. It's just one of those forced throws he didn't need to make. It's, tight coverage. There's a safety over the top. Xavier McKinney, absolute ball magnet, 6th interception this year.
It's crazy.
He's been outstanding. What a great free agent pickup. You don't have when you pick up a safety in free agency that is a ball hawk playmaker, you don't always get that immediate reward, and the Packers are with all these interceptions. So you have that play, then you have rookie Edgerrin Cooper. Again, just a bad decision by Trevor Lawrence in a one-score game inside the 5, scrambles out. Edgerrin Cooper gets off a block, sacks him, forces a fumble. Packers pick the ball up inside the 5. Their defense the last 2 weeks has made some huge plays, giving them those short fields. So, yeah, that was Trevor Lawrence making those bad plays, but also made some huge throws to get them back in it and led the 10-point comeback to make it 27-27.
As our resident special teams expert, I'm curious what your opinion is on the Logan Cook punt in this game.
It was strong, to quite strong.
Strong to quite strong, huh?
Oh, the one that went out at the 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Brett Coleman.
There you go.
You were not. It's not like you're watching the punt. You saw Brett Coleman's tweet about it.
Nope. I tweeted it almost certainly
Did
before
you?
he did.
Good for you.
Logan Cook was lined up on his own 10-yard line, right? Now, obviously the line of scrimmage wasn't on his 10-yard line, but he was lined up with his feet on the 10-yard line, and he put the ball out at the 1-yard line. And it's not like it, required people down it. Like, it went out of bounds at the 1. It was a 73-yard punt.
It reminded me of a young Randall Cunningham. What?
How and why?
Randall Cunningham has some of the best punts in NFL history.
I see.
A 91-yarder. Mm-hmm. I don't pay attention to punts.
Yeah.
Go watch Randall Cunningham's punting highlights, Sam. It's beautiful.
Okay.
Randall Cunningham, we had a 91-yard punt. This is just like that.
Just like that.
Yes. The kids don't know, but Randall Cunningham, the quarterback who punted the ball all the time for a lot of yards.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Look
showing
at
a
this.
punt.
Feet on the 10-yard line.
For
Boom.
the first time in Check the Mike history, we're showing a punt.
Clears the return man.
That is.
Bounces at the 10.
It's a +2 punt.
Out of bounds at the 1.
It's a +2 punt.
Look at that. NFL and Ireland. NFL, UK, and Ireland with the tweet.
They probably only tweet punts. This is like the first time it's going to go viral for them. Look at this. That is a beautiful punt.
Really is.
Beautiful punt.
It's insane. Like, feet on the 10, ball lands at the 11, out of bounds at the 1.
Jack's biggest highlight yesterday.
That is basically the perfect punt. Like,
it is.
It's all, I mean,
the only way that
the only way that could have been better would it be if there's only 10 more yards to go in terms of making that better.
Or if the Jags had, won the game.
No,
we'd be talking about what a play. What a play for that. One more storyline coming out of this. Christian Kirk, talking about trade opportunities and this and that. One of Trevor Lawrence's best throws, Christian Kirk up the seam. He was unable to haul it in, lands on his collarbone, broken collarbone. He's out for the season. That's the report coming out of Jacksonville.
After the season with a broken collarbone?
Yeah.
It's not normally a season-ending thing, even
it's
at
not?
this point. No. Broken collarbone is like a relatively short injury, usually.
If you call it a clavicle, it's usually out for the season, right?
No, it's not. Clavicle's, multi-week, and then you're back.
I mean, you're the son of doctors. I don't mean to question you, but
I've never broken my clavicle. But
that was the report that I saw. I don't know if anything's changed. But anyway, Christian Kirk was, rumored to be on the trading block, especially now that the Jags are 2-6. Obviously, that's not going to be happening unless, like you're saying, it's only like a few week injury. Do you see the reports on it?
Well, it's giving me like civilian recovery times, which isn't helpful.
Not NFL superhuman recovery times to play football. So, yeah, we got to keep an eye on the Jordan Love injury. And, again, great job by Malik Willis. On his return, Josh Jacobs ran the ball hard, couple scores on the ground. Packers looking like a good all-around team. And Jags fall to 2-6, man. It's getting tight over there.
Yeah, not good for them, which we said was a potential outcome based off their schedule heading away from the London games where they got that one win and got themselves back on track. Josh Jacobs had a really good game, including a really nice run to kind of go ahead late, right? That touchdown.
Yep.
Really nice move, made guy miss. Generally, he's looked a lot better in recent weeks and has started to really ramp up the production for them. The Packers offensive line, back to being one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, really didn't allow much pressure at all in the game. Correspondingly, obviously, Jacksonville's pass rush didn't do anything. Like Trayvon Walker, just a couple pressures. Josh Hines-Allen, by far the best pass rusher they had, didn't really make much of an impact.
The only sack was Willis had to hold it on like a quick game, right? They're trying to cut, quick game, throw wasn't there, and I think Trayvon Walker and Hines-Allen split the sack for 0 yards.
So they got the sacks, or the sack rather, but that also represented like a huge percentage of the total pressure they had in the game, which is to say negligible.
Right. So good job by Green Bay up front in this one. All right, let's go Atlanta. Falcons 31, Tampa Bay Bucks 26. Falcons end up sweeping the Bucks here. Another one just like the Colts and Texans. Falcons move to 5-3. Full command of the NFC South. Bucks fall to 4-4. Another wild one, man, where the Falcons got up early. Bucks had a safety to creep back into this game, and they had opportunities at the end. Pass falls incomplete out of the end zone for the Falcons to hold on to the win here.
Yeah, at one point, because obviously Cousins had put up 500 yards against the Bucks the last time they played earlier in the season. At one point in 6 quarters, Cousins had thrown for 733 yards against the Bucks defense, and then that kind of the production stopped a bit in the second half. But they were absolutely murdering them. Jesse Bates as well was a big part of this.
So good, man.
Jesse Bates has just become a turnover machine. Like, he's always been a ball hawk, but he's added that peanut punch part. So he's now a threat to pick it off anytime you put the ball in the air deep down the field, and he's a threat to knock it out with a forced fumble anytime he's in and around the ball in the run game or underneath. Like, he is just an absolute weapon for turning the ball over for the Falcons.
Big interception on a flea flicker from Baker Mayfield. Again, Mayfield just like all over the place with grinding it out, keeping him in it. There's no Chris Godwin. There's no Mike Evans. He's relying on Raheem Jarrett and Cade Otton and Bucky Irving's running around, making a ton of plays, both as a pass catcher and as a runner. I mean, there was a lot going on here with the Bucs trying to stitch it together without their top guys. Other thing you mentioned, like when the Falcons got up early, it was Kyle Pitts, long 49-yard touchdown early. Darnell Mooney, beautiful throw by Cousins for a touchdown there. Bijan Robinson wide open in the flat for a touchdown as well. I mean, there was some big plays from this Falcons offense. You mentioned it slowed down a little bit, but yeah, the Bucs defense just didn't really have a ton of answers for the Falcons. There was also a point in the game I thought Falcons were up 5. Raheem Morris decided to go for it on 4th and 1. They did a QB sneak with Kirk Cousins. I thought that was going to seal the game. It didn't, though, right? The
QB sneak with Kirk Cousins. Let's just take a beat.
QB sneak with Cousins, and it was stuffed, and then they gave him a little push on Cousins there.
It also seemed to work like almost through the element of surprise. It's Kirk Cousins. There's no way in the world they're going to run a QB sneak with Kirk Cousins, and that's exactly what they did. It's like it sort of shocked them by the success. I think was down to the fact that they were not expecting them to actually run the sneak with Cousins.
It was a 36-yard touchdown on Pitts by Pitts, by the way, not 49.
The first one. What was the second one?
The first one was 36.
We need to talk about the second one. So
discuss.
It's a really nice play. So
the second one was 49. Yeah, 36 and 49.
The Falcons in recent weeks have unlocked Kyle Pitts. Like, he was the last challenge in this offense to unlock, right? First of all, can we get who's now his name seems to have become Bijan rather than Bijan. We seem to have shifted the emphasis. We seem to have become Bijan.
And then we have Cooper Dijon.
Yeah. Anyway, the first task was, can you unlock Bijan? The second, then we got Drake London, who was already pretty much cooking anyway in the old system. But then the last piece that hadn't fully been realized talent-wise was, can you get Kyle Pitts to be productive? In the last few weeks, that's really happened. First touchdown was really nice. He just tossed the DB to the side, outran him, touchdown. Second one, he makes this in-breaking route against this shell coverage, catches the ball in traffic. Perfect pass, by the way. And this is the one, Kirk Cousins definitely has throws where the arm does not look there. But this one, he fires it into a pretty tight window over the middle. The zip is there, and then Kyle Pitts outruns everybody to the end zone. Stiff arms a guy, and then is outrunning everybody. And then at the 5-yard line decides, job done. I'm just going to ease off.
I don't understand.
And Antoine Winfield Jr., who last season twice did these plays where he forced the fumble at the goal line and on each occasion created a turnover that saved the game. He forces the ball out, which then skittles through the back of the end zone and goes out, right? Firstly, credit Kyle Pitts for the initial play, which is impressive, catch and run. Like, that's exactly what Kyle Pitts looked like in college, the player that we've been waiting for. The second part is mind-blowingly inexcusable. Twice, right? Number one, when he's clearly outrunning everybody, he decides to ease up and let Winfield take a shot at that. The second part, once the ball had come out, he did nothing. It's live. Jump on it. Even if you're not 100%, like, even if you think I'd cross the goal line, it's a touchdown, make sure. Don't let him, like, that could have been recovered.
When I'm GM of the Jets or the Jags, whichever job comes up here this offseason, I'm going to make my guys run the extra 10 yards. The end zone for us is going to be the back line. The end zone for my team, we're going to play a 110-yard field. 120, really. We're going to play 120 yards of football, like the CFL. We're going to run to the back line. We will not. The goal line doesn't even exist. It's merely 10 yards from our end zone, which is the back. I'm going to make you sprint. I would rather you sprint all the way to the stands. Go touch the back wall even. Do a Bo Jackson. Run into the tunnel. How hard is this? What game was it? Was it a college game recently where that happened? Guy did the Deshaun Jackson again?
Well, but this is
of
different.
All the things that happen over and over again. Like we mentioned poor Gus Frerotte a couple weeks ago, right? He headbutt a wall and hurt himself. Right? It happens once. People see it. They don't do it. Why is the dropping the ball at the goal line thing not just done? Like Deshaun Jackson does it once, and it's just over forever.
Yeah, that is I do not understand how that still happens. Like the dropping the ball before you cross the goal line thing is the single dumbest thing that you can do on a football field by far. It is staggeringly stupid, and it blows my mind that people still do that. If I was a head coach of a team, of a guy, like, that guy would sit out the rest of the year for that kind of stupidity. I cannot deal with that. This wasn't quite that dumb, but it was pretty dumb. Like, Pitts did not drop the ball before he got to the goal line. He simply slowed up to allow a defender a chance to force it out. And by the way, like, they looked at this, there didn't appear to be a pylon cam view of this. I think he kept it simply because they couldn't 100% determine that he didn't.
It was
right?
so close.
It's entirely possible that this was a live fumble and he just dodged a bullet on this, right? Either way, letting that happen is ridiculous. And he further compounded the error by not immediately panicking and jumping on the football and making sure that it wasn't like a turnover. If they'd given the live fumble and he just watched it trickle out of bounds, that would have been almost as inexcusable as letting it happen in the first place. So this is the enigma of Kyle Pitts. You have this amazing catch and run touchdown where Kyle Pitts is one of a very few number of tight ends that could make that play. And then at the end of it, he almost invalidated the entire thing with a boneheaded play of such staggering stupidity that it's almost difficult to comprehend.
Yes. Last thing I just wanted to add to this. I was mentioning the Kirk Cousins QB sneak.
Yep.
I thought that might seal the game. Raheem Morris had a bunch of key fourth down decisions in this first matchup that I kept highlighting against the Bucs that I thought won them the game. This decision I thought could win them the game. They gave up the 8 to go for it. They ended up still getting stopped, had to make the kick. Younghoe Koo misses the kick. So instead of going up 8, it's still just 5. But the Bucs had the ball with 1:01 left. So at the end, it still took enough time off the clock, made it more of a pressure situation. Bucs with no timeouts, where the Falcons made the stop. I just want to highlight, I think Raheem Morris being aggressive, and the Kyle Pitts first touchdown on fourth down for 36 yards, right? Gave up a long field goal opportunity there. So I think Raheem Morris is making some fourth down decisions that are directly leading to wins here for the Falcons. They're a game up on the Bucs, have the tiebreaker, so they're essentially 2 games up now in the South, and the Bucs go to Kansas City, or they play Kansas City. I don't know where the game is next Monday night. So big, huge win for the Falcons here.
Yeah, and for the Bucs, without those receiving weapons, Cade Otton was the guy that saw the bulk of the targets, had a pretty good game. Jalen McMillan, from a wide receiver standpoint, had the most targets they had, did not have a huge game. I mean, they obviously missed the combination of Mike Evans and Chris Godwin pretty badly. They've still got good playmakers. I mean, Bucky Irving looks really good for them in the backfield. Kate Otten had a good game. I don't know that that's a consistent thing week on week, but like it's such a different offense without those guys.
Listen, Jake Thornton, the GMs make rules about how the football teams play. I will hire the coach who said we're going to agree. You need to have synergy between GM and coach. So when I'm GM, you get the coach and you say, look, our end zone's 10 yards further. That's it. Backline. Run through the backline, no matter what. That's how you do it. Don't dive for the goal line. Just go. Run through it. No more use for that game. Philadelphia Eagles, Cincinnati Bengals. Eagles get the win 37-17. It was a lot closer at one point. Eagles pulled away late, though. 17-17. Jalen Hurts hit Devontae Smith with a beautiful touchdown. Great catch by Devontae Smith over Jordan Battle. 45-yard touchdown to put them up 24-17. It was then 27-17. I mean, they didn't stop scoring. So what's that end up being? 20 unanswered. Is unanswered okay, AP? Unanswered. The AP style book was getting trashed by telling us how to talk about sports the other day.
Yeah. Do you see the community notes on that?
Yes.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. The AP had a list of things that you shouldn't do. You know, you shouldn't use these cliched terms or words or whatever. And community notes under the thing just had a list of instances where the AP had used those exact things it was telling you not to use.
I love it.
Pretty funny.
It's good. So yeah, Eagles pulled away late, and big win for them. They moved to 5-2. My Super Bowl matchup. They moved to 5-2. Bengals fall to 3-5 and continue to run out of time.
Yeah, and this game I think was kind of a perfect encapsulation of why they're not going to be in the Super Bowl this season. Even if the offense is capable of it, and I don't think the offense was particularly bad in this game, even though they didn't have the production, the defense is just not good enough to stop any kind of half-decent team scoring on them. Like, that's where they are. Every now and again, you're going to get games where the offense is not able to, fire on all cylinders, cook, put up the kind of production you need them to, just dominate and put up 30. And when that happens, you're going to need the defense to make a play or two, and they just couldn't. Like, they just couldn't stop anything the Eagles were doing. They had one sequence down at the goal line where they stuffed the push play a couple of times. They're like, oh, maybe. And then, nope, they just did it again, put it in.
Couple key. There was a key sequence late in the third quarter. I think it was 24-17. So a couple things, right? When the Bengals were stopped on 3rd and 4th down, it was 3rd and 1, late Q3. Run play up the middle. By the way, it was Nakobe Dean had a really nice game for the Eagles, hitting hard, and he jumped. Yeah, he was a part of this run stop here on 3rd down. And then the 4th down play was just horrible. So 3rd and 1, and so they're in their own territory. 3rd and 1, run up the gut, stuff for no gain. 4th and 1, they did one of those Jamar Chase. We're gonna like fake motion and then do a little return motion and hit him with a swing pass. But it wasn't a screen. It was just a screen pass with no block. It was just a swing pass with no blocking. And Cooper DeJean was in coverage, and he's fast. I mean, he's a speed guy, right? I mean, he's an athletic player, and he did a nice job sticking with it, and he just ran up and made the tackle, and they had no chance. And then that was when the Eagles went up 2 scores, I believe, right after that. Joe Burrow throws an interception. You highlighted this play last night. Great play. Isaiah Rodgers tips it. It was one of those, like, it's a bang-bang deep ball that usually, if it's going to get tipped, it's incomplete, but he tips it up, and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson picks it off. I mean, so the Eagles start making these big plays defensively to help set up their offense. Saquon Barkley with a couple big runs to help close it out. Mentioned the Devontae Smith play. I mean, the Eagles have their playmakers on offense making big plays, and the Bengals just, man, a couple of those, the 3rd and 4th downs, man, I thought were like the big turning point in the game.
Yeah, but the point is, like, they need to be perfect on those because the defense is not going to give them any drives ever, right? That's the problem. They failed to execute in a couple of those plays. The turnover that the combination of Isaiah Rodgers and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson had, incredible play, wasn't a particularly bad pass by Joe Burrow. Like, it was on target. I mean, it was a pretty good throw. And Rodgers just makes a really good play to get up there and bat it away in the first place. Ends up batting it right into the hands of Gardner-Johnson.
Wasn't that exactly how the last AFC Championship they played in 22? Wasn't that the same interception that they threw? It was like one-on-one deep ball with a post safety. normal deflection, but gets
Right.
picked. I think it was very similar to the pick that Burrow threw in the AFC
So,
Championship.
They just didn't quite execute a couple of those plays, but the Eagles were executing all over the place, and Cincinnati just wasn't stopping them. That Devontae Smith catch in the end zone, really nice play. Like, that
Really?
was classic college Devontae Smith as well. Like an unusual technique where he sort of high-pointed it, but caught it over his shoulder. Normally, when you're high-pointing the ball, you're like facing the ball, right? You're facing the quarterback. You're catching it in front of your face.
Yeah.
He like high-points it, but still lets it come in over his shoulder. Really difficult thing to do, and did it really well. Somebody else, Keon Coleman, took a shot at that in the game yesterday as well and couldn't make the catch. But Devontae Smith made it work. Just like really impressive by the Eagles offense, but again, I think a huge failing from Cincinnati's defense.
Joe Burrow with a huge, when it was 17-10, Joe Burrow with a huge 3rd and 8 scramble to help, give them a shot. Like, the Bengals had some key plays that kept the drive alive. Bengals ended up tying it, but in the end, some of those mistakes, play calling. T. Higgins missed the game. He came down in the injury report late in the week on Friday with a quad. That means my guy Jermaine Burton had to play football, Sam.
Career high in snaps.
So Burton's 3 targets. Let's discuss. We have a contested catch touchdown opportunity.
Let's start with 17 snaps.
17 snaps for Burton. I didn't watch every snap, but probably all go balls.
Almost doubles his previous game high.
Had his hands on a potential touchdown pass, got knocked away. Then he's got a 41-yard go ball right in stride by Burrow, which lowered Jermaine Burton's career yards per reception average with this 41-yard catch.
Damn.
So he's now got a 47-yard catch and a 41-yard catch. And then the other play probably highlights why
Over
he's not.
Darius Slay, by the way.
Over Slay,
Yeah.
Slay broke up the touchdown, so they got the better of each other, 1-1 there. But then there's a miscommunication just before the half. Joe Burrow's throwing a deep out, and Burton's running like a double move go ball. And I think that's the type of play that highlights why Burton isn't out there more consistently. Like those 2 plays, right? Go ball, in stride, got it. Every time he runs one-on-one with a corner, he's stacking them and getting separation. But when you're asking him to either read the coverage or there's some sort of, I don't know, he's supposed to run an out, I think. I'm assuming Burrow's right, and he just didn't do it.
Running the
they're not on
go
the same
made
page.
no sense on that against that
Are
coverage.
you watching that play? Yeah. And if he runs the out, they might be in field goal range, right? That's setting up a potential field goal before the half. So I assume that's where he's probably lacking the trust of Burrow and the coaching staff there.
Yeah.
But if it's, hey, run deep a few times a game, we might be able to flip the field with a 40-plus yarder, which they did again in this one. So just wanted to highlight that. High level, though, for the Eagles, I'm a believer in the Eagles. I've always been a believer in the Eagles, thinking they could do this, right? Jalen Hurts, probably his best game of the year, most efficient game of the year, 3 straight games where he's done a better job taking care of the ball. Saquon Barkley didn't have the 50-yarder in this game, but a 17 and a 19-yarder. And again, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown is a 1-2 punch, really good. So I think the Eagles always have this potential. Their pass rush was good in this game. They have the potential to just be good again. And they've been inconsistent, but they have the ability to do this.
Well, the offense, I think, is good when they have their playmakers back. I mean, the difference that A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith coming back into the lineup has made to their offense has been huge. But the big thing in this game is, like, suddenly all of their young defensive players were playing really well. Like, Zach Bond had a really good game. Nakobe Dean, who you mentioned. Jalen Carter was really good. Nolan Smith has had a couple of weeks in a row now where
he had
he's
a really
played,
nice sack on Marius Mims.
Yeah, where he's played pretty well. Isaiah Rodgers and Gardner Johnson combined for that freaky interception. Ed Reed Blankenship, who we've said before, like, he's a star in that secondary. Quinyon Mitchell has been really good for most of the season. Like, their collection of young playmakers on defense, which has been really, they're going to go how those guys go. They're playing better.
All right, man, that's it for the 1 o'clock games. Let's get to the 4s. Washington Commanders 18, Chicago Bears 15. Commanders move to 6-2. Bears fall to 4-3. Story of the game, of course, is the Hail Mary. A Hail Mary walk-off win for the Commanders. Noah Brown with the 52-yard touchdown to win the game for Washington.
Mm-hmm.
What a weird game.
Yeah.
It felt like the Commanders were in control But they go field goal, field goal, field goal, field goal. They're up 12-0. DeAndre Swift breaks off a 56-yard touchdown run to make it 12-7. Remember, these teams had a legendary 12-7 game on Thursday Night Football a couple of years ago, right? Again, I mentioned it on the preview show. The first one to make Al go crazy. I got to watch this game. It's 12-7 with Justin Fields and whoever, Taylor Heineke. I got to watch this thing. So it's 12-7. Bears come back, take the lead 15-12. And Commanders hit the walk-off.
Hit the Hail Mary.
All sorts of weird stuff in this game, though, because it felt like the Commanders were in control, couldn't really put them away, would have felt like a massive missed opportunity. But the Bears also fumble a handoff at the goal line when they're going in. I mean, it was just a lot of stuff going on in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think Washington was the better team in this game, and it did feel like they were in control for the majority of it. Jaden Daniels obviously playing through that rib injury. He looked really good again. They were testing him. Like, he took a couple of shots early. It was almost like Chicago was, I don't want to say they were headhunting him, but they were certainly like, let's just see if the ribs are going to hold up. Like, there was a play early where Montez Sweat took an inside rush, chased him, like landed on him, smushed him at the end of this play. Not only did Daniels sort of just get up, shrug it off, like, he put that ball in the back of the end zone that was like inches away from Luke McCaffrey getting both toes down, scoring a touchdown on it. Like that, I mean, number one, that was a test to the ribs. But number two, it's like he's out there playing still really well, even with that rib injury. Brian Robinson back as well, running really well. Like, things, there's a really nice bomb to Terry McLaurin over Tyreek Stevenson. The offense was looking pretty good. They just weren't able to finish those drives with touchdowns.
Speaking of Tyreek Stevenson.
Oh, dear.
I mean, this is one of the most epic videos in NFL history already. The fan video, it would have been discovered on the All-22, but the fan video of Tyreek Stevenson taunting the crowd in the middle of the Hail Mary, and then he's like, oh no, the play's going on. I've never seen anything like this. And he's the one who actually tips the pass up, right? He's one of the guys in the mix.
That's what makes it art, is that he's the guy that gets the hand on it that ends up deflecting it to the wide receiver for a touchdown.
He apologized later.
It's kind of amazing. Like, he is facing the wrong direction. He's facing the crowd when the receivers are at the 20-yard line.
Yeah.
Like, they've run however many yards this was to get into the end zone. He's at the 20-yard line facing in the wrong direction. There's his tweet apologizing to Chicago and teammates. My apologies for lack of awareness and focus. The game ain't over till zeros hit the clock. Can't take anything for granted. Notes taken. Improvement will happen. Hashtag bear down. So, kudos to him for acknowledging it, owning it, and apologizing. The two parts that make this video genuine artwork. Number one, the fact that he ends up becoming the guy that actually gets there and gets his hand on it and deflects it for the touchdown. The second part, though, which somebody highlighted, was there's an entire front row of Washington fans.
Bears fans.
Yeah, sorry, Bears fans pointing, hey, the play's happening. He's busy celebrating, taunting the crowd, whatever he's doing, facing the wrong direction. There's a line of people in the front row like, dude, the ball's been snapped. Turn around.
No one, I like to think we're the number one NFL podcast at referencing 80s and 90s wrestling, but that is straight up like the
Jimmy Hart's behind you with the megaphone. Turn around.
Like the face is like looking at the crowd, and the crowd's going behind you.
Yeah.
Watch out! They got a chair. He's got a chair. That's like the football play's happening. The last play of the game. What are you doing?
I don't even really understand. It clearly wasn't over. They had a Hail Mary shot at it. You kind of need to pay attention for that play.
And then the Hail Mary itself, I was watching it live while we were getting ready. I'm sorry did I see it way before you? Did I completely spoil this great moment?
You were a few seconds ahead, yeah.
I apologize for spoiling it. I thought Jaden Daniels made a huge mistake. He wasn't even close to the line of scrimmage. I mean, let's be serious here. It's a legendary football play. It's an underthrown Hail Mary. No, it's not underthrown. I mean, he's far back.
Don't he just? I mean,
but
it's
it didn't land. It didn't land in the end zone, right? That's
right.
The fact that it got tipped up and caught. Obviously, that the result is luck. But I thought Daniels made a mistake because the throw was so far. He needed to get as close to the line of scrimmage as possible to make sure he reached the end zone, and he didn't reach the end zone. But it turns out the tip drill. This was Texans-Jags 2012 when Garrard hit Mike Sims-Walker.
Yeah, except that one was even more ridiculous because it was like a spike. It was like a volleyball spike downwards.
It was tipped backwards, right? I mean, it was tipped down. Yeah. This one was tipped up by the crowd celebrating.
I mean, it wasn't even tipped
Stevenson.
down, that one. It was like batted down like a volleyball spike and somehow landed in the wide receiver's hands who just jumped forward into the end zone.
It was.
This one was, more sort of upward deflection into the guy's hands.
So Jaden Daniels, 1 for 1. I don't think he's tried any other Hail Marys this year. So 1 for 1 on Hail Marys in his career.
Yeah.
He had, I mean, you mentioned some of the other great throws that he made. I thought he was good again, right?
Yeah.
With the injury, opportunistic scrambling again. It was just much like the week 2 game against the Giants where they moved the ball, and then kicked 7 field goals against the Giants. And this one kicked 4 field goals and didn't find the end zone until the Hail Mary.
I mean,
which
overall,
is also amazing.
I think he looked like the much better quarterback of the number 1 versus number 2 pick. But then at the death, where the game hadn't become out of reach, it was still alive. Caleb Williams had a drive where he sort of put it together and made a few Caleb Williams type plays, and got the Bears back into it. Like, he had a couple of really nice plays in that drive. They get the pass interference call down at the goal line that really gave them a shot to score. Benjamin St-Juste getting an arm hooked around Keenan Allen. Was it Romo? He was on the commentary in this game.
Yeah.
I think he was pointing out, like, I don't think that pass is getting caught even if he hadn't hooked him, but it's probably pass interference. So got a little bit lucky on that play, but like Caleb Williams showed up when it mattered the most in this game. It's just that Jaden Danielson snatched it away with the Hail Mary.
Bears fans, as far as the what-ifs go in this game, you've got a 4th and 1. They throw the smoke route to DJ Moore, stopped on 4th and 1. They try a goal line handoff to the up back.
To an offensive lineman.
Doug Kramer was mishandled handoff there with Caleb Williams and Doug Kramer at the goal line. But still, at the end of the day, they were up, right? They were up 15-12 with a long Hail Mary, a 52-yard Hail Mary that they could have stopped, and they didn't do it.
Yeah. What did you mention, or what did you make rather, of the William the Refrigerator Perry play to hand the ball off to your offensive lineman at the goal line?
If it works, it's a nice little tribute.
But it's one of those things that when it doesn't work, it seems like that's just ridiculous. How could you make that call? How stupid is that, giving the ball to a guy that's not used to taking a handoff? This was the only way this was ever going to end. But realistically, I mean, the Bears spent quite a long time doing it to a refrigerator. It's obviously not that hard to take a handoff. Like, it's just a screw-up, right?
You'd think it shouldn't be. I'm trying to see how many fullbacks. I mean, Kramer's been doing this throughout the season. 2-2-1-1 fullback snaps. 2-3-2-1 fullback snaps in games over the last few weeks, right? So he's been playing fullback. They've been used him at tight end a couple times. It's been part of their arsenal.
No actual handoffs, though, right?
No, first handoff opportunity. So,
but I mean,
when it doesn't work, obviously it's going to get criticized.
But it does sort of feel like you should be able to take a handoff. It's not that hard.
High level takeaways out of this, though, like Caleb Williams was upward trajectory. I thought he was going to have another big game because I've been not believing in the Commanders' defense. The defense looks much better. Maybe if they start figuring it out with Dan Quinn, I'm telling you, they are dangerous beyond the fact that even if they're 5-3, I think that would still be my takeaway. Like, I don't want to play the Commanders because they're getting better defensively.
I think that's a big takeaway from this game and this is not just this game, it's been trending in that direction. Like, Washington's defense might be significantly better than it looked earlier in the season when they were terrible. Johnny Newton had a big part of this game. Like, he hadn't made an impact really yet this season. He had a ton of pressure. He was a really big factor in this game. Now, they still don't really have an edge presence, a huge edge presence, but like adding one more legitimate threat on that defensive line is big. But this defense for Washington has been trending in the right direction for a while, and it's not like no one player necessarily is playing out of their mind, but everybody's chipping in with good plays.
Anything else on this game?
No, that's the end.
Okay. All that I ask coming out of this is that we don't highlight the Hail Mary as part of Jaden Daniels' legend. He was good otherwise. He made other beautiful throws. The deep ball to Terry McLaurin was fantastic. Does he have the best deep ball in the NFL? The most beautiful deep ball in the NFL already? I don't know. and the best scrambler. I mean, Jaden Daniels is fantastic. But the Hail Mary's luck. Hate to throw a wet blanket on the excitement. The Hail Mary for Jaden Daniels himself was luck. Great for the Commanders, though, overall.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
The other thing coming out of this is Roma Dunze hit his projection. All a part of me hitting my prize picks.
How late did that happen?
He had like a 16-yarder.
Because Caleb Williams ended up with like
Very late.
130-something yards, 100 of which came in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, at some point the box scoregami was getting to Caleb. He was like 4 for 13, and
Yeah.
I mean he was not completing a lot of passes. But at some point, Roma Dunze hit his projection, as did Patrick Mahomes, his passing yards, and Sam Darnold's passing yards. So I went 3 for 3 on my lineup. PrizePicks, the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. So you can download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CheckTheMic. You get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CheckTheMic on PrizePicks. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's all guaranteed. As I mentioned, as a podcast, we're 5 straight weeks in a row, at least having a winner. My lineup was good this week. So we'll be playing again Wednesday and Thursday. Our lineups for next week. PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. All sorts of great stuff with PrizePicks, and we appreciate them being a big part of Check the Mic here. So again, download the app today. Use code Check the Mic. You get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Check the Mic, $50 instantly. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, a couple other 4 o'clock games. We got to go quicker here. Buffalo Bills and the Seattle Seahawks. Bills clinched the AFC East with the win. Don't fact check me on that. But they moved to 6-2 with the 31-10 win over the Seahawks, who fall to 4-4, merely tied for first now in the NFC West with the Cardinals and the 49ers.
Yeah, it ended up being a pretty comfortable win for Buffalo. In the rain, the driving rain of the Pacific Northwest.
I didn't pull the tweet, but this is like one of the biggest losses for Seattle. I think the biggest loss since 2011 at home. Right? I mean, like, we always joke about the Seahawks, the Kevin Clark tweet. They always play weird games.
Yeah.
This was like the least weird of all their games.
Yeah, they just lost.
The least close of
Right.
all their games. Like, weird stuff happened. Like, Josh Allen dropped the ball and kicked it 10 yards forward.
Grubber kick.
Yeah. Who?
Grubber kick.
A grubber kick.
Grubber kick through the defensive line for the first down. Smart. More people should do that.
It's not our job to defend PFF grades necessarily anymore. But, like, again, when he fumbled twice. He did finally throw an interception.
You should. I tried to make you do it, and you wouldn't. I said you should have guaranteed that he was going to throw his first interception in this game, and you didn't.
I should have.
You were like, no, there's just a 3-interception game coming somewhere down the pike. It's, you fence that like you normally did.
Well, because
If
I already
you
had
had
people mishearing me and like it's clown analysis on Josh Allen. I just at some point he's got the multi-interception game coming.
If you had simply gone out and said, I guarantee that Josh Allen will throw his first interception in this game, you'd have looked like a genius.
It would have
been even funnier because it wasn't his fault.
I know. Wasn't on him.
Yeah. It was Amari Cooper's fault.
Yeah. It is. And so part of my takeaway in this whole thing is how dangerous all the non-Amari Cooper targets were in this game, therefore making Buffalo all the more dangerous when Keon Coleman's making his contested catches and Khalil Shakir creating after the catch and Dalton Kincaid. He always feels like he has more than what his actual production is because I love Kincaid. But yeah, they had some big plays.
The Coleman thing was fascinating because they was it consecutive targets in the end zone where they threw him like 2 jump ball fades, right? The first one, he can't make the catch. Reek Woolen does a really good job. The second one, significantly harder. He makes the spectacular contested catch, scores a touchdown. You're like, that is contested catches in a nutshell, right? They're like that's your 50-50 proposition. If you can create 50-50, you probably win. That's good enough. You score, you get 1 out of 2, you score, you win the game. If you can be a 50-50 contested catch guy, that's good. But that's really hard to do. And Coleman had that catch was spectacular to get into the red zone on that occasion. Like, he'd made a good catch and run play to set it up at that point. He had a pretty good game. I just thought that was such a sort of funny nutshell example of like, this is why relying on contested catch skills is a difficult thing to do consistently.
Yeah, I completely agree there. Seattle had a 4th and goal
4th and 1.
Fourth and 1. 4th and goal from the 1.
Yeah. But
yeah.
4th and goal from the 1, down 7-3.
Yeah. Gino tripped.
Yeah.
Got tripped.
Well, and they'd had earlier, like Connor Williams, center for the Seahawks. Rough game. Earlier in the game, he just massively airmailed a long snap, like launched it clean over Geno Smith. Kenneth Walker did a good job to get back and try and rescue something out of the play, but really bad negative play deep in the red zone. Then you have this one where 4th and goal from the 1, Connor Williams steps on Geno Smith coming out of his stance.
Is that his fault?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
I mean, he's just back blocking on power. Yeah, his right
Okay,
foot.
but most of the time, centers are able to do that without stepping on their quarterback.
Yeah, his right foot's going backwards.
On the
yeah.
occasion
just
where
trying to rewatch, just trying to get a good view.
On the occasions where they do step on their quarterback, it feels like it's probably their fault.
As I said, yes, the biggest problem with the go-for-it decisions is not converting. Having bad plays, and you didn't even have a chance on this play.
Yeah, so obviously center steps. I mean, Gino was so mad. Center steps on him, plays dead. Don't. But that's a huge. This is the funny thing. It ends up being just a relatively routine and comfortable Buffalo win against Seattle. Early on, though, Seattle's offense is having success. They butcher one red zone opportunity by launching the snap over their quarterback's head. They butcher the next one, going for it on 4th and goal at the 1, down less than a touchdown. Connor Williams steps on his quarterback, plays dead, and from that point on, the game just goes away from
Can't give away possessions. And then it's another game, like from a Seattle perspective, another game with their running backs did absolutely nothing. What did they end up with? Ken Walker's 9 carries for 12 yards, Zach Charbonnet 3 carries for 4 yards. So they combined 12 carries for 16 yards. So you get no Charbonnet did have a touchdown in there, but you have no rhythm offensively, like you're saying. Bad snap, getting stepped on, all of that stuff adding up. No DK Metcalf. So what has DK Metcalf added to the offense? Well, when you need a 40-yarder, or 50-yarder, 60-yarder.
They don't have that.
You mix that in, right?
Yeah.
And Tyler Lockett's not that guy. Jackson Smith and Jigba's not really that guy. So you kind of miss some of the deep threat when there is no run game. You miss the ability to flip the field with DK Metcalf. And on the other side, Buffalo ran the ball really well. James Cook had 8 first downs on the ground, 2 touchdowns. They were much more effective. Just a really well-balanced offensive effort for Buffalo in the end as well.
Yeah, they really miss DK Metcalf, the Seahawks. Without him in the lineup, they don't have that explosive big play threat. Lockett just isn't that guy anymore. Jackson Smith and Jigba is probably never going to be that guy. Jake Bobo runs a 4.9. He's not going to be that guy.
Plays faster.
He doesn't play that much faster.
He plays faster.
He doesn't play DK Metcalf fast. So they just don't have that in the lineup without him there. And, Geno Smith arguably has the best deep ball in the NFL. It's a significant loss when they don't have that there. Like Buffalo's corners, their outside corners really weren't tested in this game because they were funneling everything inside. They don't have anybody on the outside that can win those routes.
We highlighted Mike Jarrell, the starting right tackle, his second start. Again, similar idea. Like last week when he gave up pressure, Geno Smith made big plays out of it. This week, not so much. So it's been a weakness. We'll see if Abe Lucas can come back for Seattle. One last thing, they just traded for Ernest Jones. He's been one of the better run-stopping linebackers. Didn't help in this game so far. 1 week in, learning the system, the whole thing, but the Seahawks' run defense has been in rough shape this year, and it was more of the same for them, even with Ernest Jones in the lineup. Yep. All right. Got no more use for this game. Los Angeles Chargers and the New Orleans Saints. Chargers get the win 26-8. Chargers moved to 4-3. Saints with their 6th straight loss to fall to 2-6. Most points scored in a game for the Chargers with 26 here.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert looking good again, man. 2nd straight week. Justin Herbert, has he been unlocked?
Has he been unlocked? Well, it only happened late in the game. I mean, for a long time, the scores in this game were pretty funny. They looked like something from the 1920s. It was 2-3 for a while, and then it was 5-9.
It was 3-2, then 9-2, then 9-5.
Yeah.
Then 16-5.
These are all scores these are all pre-war scores.
Yeah, they're all pre-war scores. And there's no better coach that I want in a pre-war game than Jim Harbaugh. right? When it's sitting there 3-2 and he's got this big season, I'm not having a heart attack today, man. I'm not having any heart issues today. I'm sitting through this 5-3 game, baby. It's going to happen.
If I have to play the 1949 championship game, the coach I want from today's NFL is Jim Harbaugh. Absolutely.
Herbert finishes 20 of 32 for 279, but it was to me, it was the Ladd McConkey game.
Yeah.
Right? 60-yard touchdown, another one running through the defense, 6 catches for 111 for Ladd McConkey, a couple of big plays from Josh Palmer in there as well.
That big touchdown, it was kind of funny because that was like the play that Quentin Johnson was supposed to provide to the team. You know, you go down, win one-on-one outside, down the sideline, high point the ball, and then run through the rest of the secondary for the touchdown.
Yeah.
Like that's why they drafted Quentin Johnston. And he hasn't brought that to the team. And then Ladd McConkey comes in. That's not really his skill set generally, but he ends up making that play. A huge play for the offense.
Huge play. Chargers defense, we've said they've been sneaky good this year. You know, better against the run than they have been in past years, and one of the better pass defenses. So tough sledding for Spencer Rattler. He goes 12 of 24 for 156, sacked 3 times. Was that officially a benching, or were they just looking for a spark? What was that officially?
I mean, same thing. I think it was a benching.
Jake Haener comes in, 9 completions for 122 yards. Chris Olave came back, made some big plays. Alvin Kamara had some big plays on the ground and through the air, but man, just not enough for the Saints, man.
Yeah, they didn't have enough. Chargers defense played pretty well. And by the way, they overcame an early setback. Like they had a wayward long snap, ends up being a safety. That's why the scores were all janky at the start of the game. It was funny. So it was a wayward snap. The punter can't quite one hand snag it out of the air. It would have been a ridiculous snag if he'd been able to do it. He then ends up actually scooping it off the ground one-handed and had a chance to maybe boot it away and save it. And the reason he can't, Taysom Hill tackles him.
Taysom Hill makes his return.
Ends up tackling the punter, making sure that he can't get rid of it, and ends up being a safety. So a big play from the Saints to kind of early in the game, but they just couldn't get it going on offense enough.
The Taysom Hill without, though, gets completely screwed up. They were averaging over 40 points a game. Taysom Hill, 8 points in this one. Just not going to do it. Again, storyline-wise, coming out of this, are the Saints going to become sellers? I mean, one of the reasons why I was lower on them coming into the year is because I don't think they've built enough depth. Their offensive line depth has not been good, and now they've had all these injuries. They were better in this game,
and their offensive line is prettier. It's healthier. It's almost back to full strength now. So that's becoming less of a problem. They're still down a lot of wide receivers. I mean, Olave was back, but the great Rashid Shaheed is out for a period of time.
Yeah.
Like they aren't what they were, but it's not as bad as it was a couple of weeks ago. Like Rattler's first start, where it's like he has no offensive linemen, no wide receivers. This has no shot of working.
Yeah, and so again, like one of the reasons why I'm lower on the Saints coming into the year, and then felt like an idiot for 2 weeks, but now I'm back.
Back, baby.
They had all those injuries, but just they haven't drafted in volume over the last couple of years. You know, since 2020, averaged under 6 draft picks per season. Since 2019, similar. You're allotted 7, Sam, and most people have 8 or 9, either through trades or through compensatory picks. And the Saints are just like when you only bring in 6 players per year, and everyone else is bringing in 8 or 9. Even no matter where the picks are, you're just the depth just gets chipped away at, and I think we're feeling that with the Saints. So, are they potentially sellers? I've heard Marshawn Lattimore's name, talked about a lot. Chase Young, maybe, having probably his worst season. We haven't talked a lot about him. He's not rushing the passer effectively. It'd be interesting to see if the Saints end up actually looking to the future here and looking to accumulate picks rather than, trading for them.
Right.
Or trading their picks coming out of this.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Their season is pretty much dead after that encouraging start where they look so dominant.
Really quick, the last 2 games we talked about, Keon Coleman, what he did, Ladd McConkey, what he did. Do we need to apologize to the Bills for saying, hey, you let the Chiefs get Xavier Worthy when they ended up getting Keon Coleman? Probably feel pretty good about that so far.
I don't think anybody...
Chargers feel good about Ladd McConkey. That was kind of the fun. I'm not saying really apologize. I'm just saying that was like some of the fun narrative, right? The Bills let the Chiefs trade up for Xavier Worthy when maybe he's not much better than the other guys picked after him.
People certainly did, but we were never saying that was definitively a bad decision. What we were saying is it's a really interesting series of decisions.
Such a fun storyline.
Where they decided that we are going to trade back at this spot, and Keon Coleman, of all people, will be the guy that we bring in as the solution. Now, it's also worth remembering that they have subsequently traded for Amari Cooper. Like, they have gone and found a guy to go and play that X wide receiver spot that they were intending on plugging Keon Coleman into. So, how much of that is an indication that they know they needed something beyond that?
All right, we were talking about the Chargers, but yeah, they get the win, 4-3, good bounce back from their Monday night loss to the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Denver Broncos 28, Carolina Panthers 14. Broncos move to 5-3. Panthers fall to 1-7. Bryce Young got the start. Looked pretty good early on, 5 for 5 on the first drive. Had a negated incompletion due to a penalty, but they got up 7-0.
They did.
And that was a little more of the same since then, but a little bit better, I think, overall for Bryce Young.
It was.
But most of the game, they're playing from behind. They scored a touchdown late, but it was 28-7 for quite a bit in this game.
Yeah, it definitely was an improvement from Bryce Young. He didn't look completely overwhelmed and lost. And this is a good defense he's going up against.
Yeah.
So, definitely an improvement from what we saw when they had to bench him because it was so catastrophic that, it just had to go that way. There was no other alternative. But it still wasn't necessarily good. On the other hand, like Bo Nix had a really good game. Like he
did.
Sort of swung back. And now, again, like this was sort of to be expected, right? Like if you can, this is a perfect get right spot. You got going up against a team with one of the worst pass rushes in the NFL, who aren't particularly good anywhere else, and they're unlikely to put you in a negative game script situation beyond the early touchdown they scored. It's set up for Bo Nix to have a good game, but he did.
Man. Weekly check-in on the Panthers' pressure. Jadeveon Clowney back, 30 rushes, 2 pressures. A'Shawn Robinson had 2 sacks. His only 2 pressures on 29 rushes. Charles Harris, 25 rushes, 0 pressures. Shy Tuttle, check. 22 rushes, 0 pressures.
But he had the forced fumble.
There you go. Saved it all.
It was, I joked that wasn't like really good hustle on a pass play. That's just where he got to in his pass rush by the time the ball arrived.
Oh, Shy Tuttle. Broncos, on the other hand, you get, Zach Allen with 4, Jonah Ellis with 4, John Franklin Myers with 4, Nick Benito with 3, including a sack. He keeps finding the quarterback. So the Broncos, I can't wait to see them play the Chiefs, man. I mean, they're right now, I don't know where the Chargers end up, but Broncos look like the best challenger, at least in the AFC West. I mean, they're 3 games behind or 2.5 games behind the Chiefs. I don't think they're winning the division, but they snuck a win against the Chiefs last year, played them tough. Looking forward to when they get to play the way the Broncos are playing defense.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing pretty well. If they get a decent game out of Bo Nix, like, they're not an easy team to beat necessarily.
A few big-time throws from Bo Nix. We didn't get the breakout game from Troy Franklin. Didn't have a lot of opportunities, and when he did have the deep ball opportunity, he just runs right by the defender. That's what he does.
Yes.
But he tried to catch the ball with his hands like 20 feet apart. Like, what's he doing? Put your hands together. Catch the ball, man.
Evidently, drafting wide receivers, deep threat wide receivers whose name is Troy is not a good idea. That was awful.
No one knows the old Troy. You have to explain.
Troy Williamson, one of the worst wide receiver picks that's ever been made in the first round. The guy that was supposed to replace Randy Moss. We're going to trade away Randy Moss because we're tired of his antics. We're going to get rid of him, let him go to the Raiders. And it's fine because we'll just draft this guy out of South Carolina with the 7th overall pick. With the pick we get for Randy Moss, we'll simply replace him with Troy Williamson, who couldn't catch or do much else except run fast. It was bad. I mean, it was a slot fade. He runs right by the guy. He's got a couple of yards of separation. The ball's dropped in the bucket. It's a little bit out in front, but like very catchable. And it just goes right through the middle of his hands. And like, even if that's all you can do, right? You have to be able to do that. That's your thing. You're the designated deep threat, and we're going to find you a target. You're the Jermaine Burton of the offense, right? You have to catch that one. You have to.
New record here, too, on Check the Mic for the 8th straight week. It's week 8. I'm going to speak positively about the offense against this Panthers defense. I'm like, do I need every week somebody plays the Panthers, and I'm like, do I need to rethink this offensive player? Do I need to rethink this quarterback? Do we need to rethink Bo Nix this week coming out of the Panthers? Every time you're ready to quit Bo Nix, he comes back with a good game. He had a great game against the Bucs earlier in the year. He's got a good game this week against the Panthers. He's missing wide open throws 2 weeks ago against the Saints, but then settled in. But another player that had maybe their best game against the Panthers. So I don't know what to do with it other than he did make some really nice throws, and he's progressing overall, I'd say.
Yeah, no, he is. He looked pretty good. By the way, in Troy's defense, right? We said last week that if you're not going to get the guy involved until late in the game, what can you expect? That was the third quarter, the first time the ball came his way.
You got to feed Troy.
He wasn't even on the field until the second quarter.
You have to feed him early.
The very first snap he was on the field for, they ran a little orbit motion with Troy, right? Faked a wide receiver screen, instead threw a slant for one of the guys that would have been blocking it.
Yeah, throw it to him.
Just give him the ball. Give him the ball on the screen. Let him go. Let him go. Get him involved. Get him involved early, and then you can have a Marvin Harrison type of game out the back end of that.
Evidence in your favor here.
I'm simply saying you don't give Troy the ball early in the game, and then you go for you dial it up for him in the third quarter, and what happens? It goes right through his hands. Nobody to blame but yourself.
Didn't get him involved early.
Got to get him involved.
You want the deep ball from Troy Franklin later.
If you want it in the third quarter.
I don't understand why he wasn't a part of the offense earlier, but it doesn't matter.
I mean, particularly not even being on the field for the first quarter. That seems slightly strange.
Bryce Young didn't look completely overwhelmed. Do you just kind of let him keep playing football? But I mean, he's Jalen Coker, rookie out of Holy Cross, made some really nice plays. But he's thrown to Jalen Coker, undrafted rookie free agent.
Yeah.
David Moore, Xavier Legette. He's coming along, but he's a rookie, so it's still like not the best supporting cast. Probably the worst the pass protections looked for the Panthers all season. Do you let Bryce Young? He didn't look overwhelmed, right? Didn't look like the first 2 weeks against a good defense, right?
Yeah.
So do you let him roll? It still wasn't great. Couple picks in there, turnover-worthy plays, but do you let him roll?
He looked viable enough in this game that I think it's certainly potentially worth the shot. I mean, they have upcoming games against New Orleans, whose defense is really banged up and not what it was. The Giants, whose defense is just not particularly good. Okay, Kansas City, it gets tough. The Bucs will be an interesting test. But, early in the season, it's like you need to take him out of the field because it's just not even – it doesn't function. Like, it's not an offense at this point. He's lost. It's not doing him any good. There's just no point. That was a game where at least he wasn't drowning. He didn't get much going. He didn't score a ton. It wasn't great. They lost the game. But he at least wasn't drowning. And ultimately –
that's progress, man.
A, it's progress. And B, you've really nothing else to play for this year, right? You've got one win. The game, like the season's already done. What is the point? Other than sort of just maintaining the buy-in of everybody in the building, there's no other point to putting Andy Dalton back out there. So, I mean, I might give him the next couple of weeks and then see what happens.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Let's see. I mean, if he figures it out, it's good for the franchise. It's going to be tough, though. Panthers looking rough once
and at
again.
this point, I mean, if he has a couple of games down the stretch where he sparks and looks like something, it's enhancing trade value.
True. That's true.
Like
can't be lower.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's difficult for his value to plummet more than it already has based off what we've seen from him. So if you can repair that at all with a couple of signs of life, that's good.
All right, let's go. Kansas City Chiefs 27, Las Vegas Raiders 20. Chiefs move to 7-0. Raiders fall to 2-6. Raiders had an opportunity here, man. The Chiefs were in control, seemingly, 17-10. Patrick Mahomes throws a pick coming out of the end zone. So what happened here? He gets his hand hit. The Raiders essentially, they had back-to-back possessions that started at the Kansas City 28 and the Kansas City 3. The second one was this interception. And they came away with 3 points on those two possessions. So that was where the Raiders, again, I always view this through the lens of like, how can you upset the champs? What do you need to happen? How are you going to pull this off? The Raiders hung tough, and then get this big return and then an interception and just can't capitalize. They had these two possessions start in Kansas City territory, and they ran 14 plays for 14 yards, coming away with 3 points. And then the Chiefs just ran away with it, got up 2 scores before the garbage time touchdown by the Raiders.
That deflected pass interception. Like, that could have been absolutely game-changing here. And then the Chiefs' defense holds on like a goal line stand. It ends up essentially being costless.
That's where the thing that's missing with the Raiders is like how do you do this as a coach? Like, hey guys, we're 9-point dogs, right? They're better than us. We can't just run the ball up the middle. Like, the Raiders have an historically bad run game, and the Chiefs have one of the best just straight up physical defensive fronts in the NFL. And the Raiders just ran the ball up the middle 3 straight times on the goal line. After they hadn't gotten it's not like they were getting the run game going. Their running backs finished with 17 carries for 16 yards.
Yeah.
They just so if you're the Raiders as the underdogs, and Gardner Minshew played pretty well. They created big plays. Like, what's better? 20 targets to Brock Bowers or 17 carries to Madison and Abdullah and Zamir White to nowhere? Like, just keep chucking it to Brock Bowers and see what happens. Like, play as the underdog one time. We're 9-point dogs. We're not that good. Like, you say it tactfully though. Say, hey, we're playing the champs.
Right.
We're playing the champs. We got to be aggressive. But that's what the Raiders have to do.
But also remember what we talked about earlier about the creativity that Ben Johnson breaks out, in the tight red zone, right? They're not just like, oh, let's just run the ball up the middle with David Montgomery, even though that would have a dramatically higher chance of success than the Raiders doing it, right? They could do that. They're not. They're actually dialing up all kinds of creative motion and trickery and, movement and all kinds of stuff to get guys open. The Raiders are just like, no, we're just going to run the ball up the middle in a play that is bad and won't work.
Well, ironically, I was asking last week, I said, I wonder what the Chiefs' red zone offense would look like if they ran normal plays.
Right.
And didn't have, 17 dudes in 3-point stances and, running 1940s wing T. And they did. They just ran here's a pass play where Travis Kelce's open. Here's a swing pass where Xavier Worthy's open. And they actually they were effective in the red zone. The Chiefs are good enough to just run normal plays. The Raiders ran the ball up the middle 3 straight times. Like, you should be doing, break out the Trey Tucker end around, break out all that stuff in the red zone. So again, they had opportunities there. Gardner Minshew, I thought, played well overall. He did fumble and in their comeback attempt as well. So can't make those kind of mistakes against the Chiefs every single week.
No. The Patrick Mahomes went 11 quarters without scoring a touchdown pass. That's kind of crazy.
They were the only team to not throw a touchdown in October.
Really?
Until that guy, John Kuda, is it John Kuda that has all the funny, visuals that he makes and everything?
Right.
He had one of those where he had all 31 teams circled. It was like, have you thrown a touchdown in October? 31 circled, and then no was Kansas City, the one.
Jay Kuda.
Jay.
But yes.
-1. Missed the name.
Again.
Jay Kuda.
Nothing but misinformation. This was one of the best games, though, that Mahomes has played this season. Like, he actually had a pretty good performance.
Yeah.
Despite, the Raiders' defense was giving it a go. I mean, they were getting weird plays from random people. Tyree Wilson, Rex, was Wanya Morris. Left tackle to get the sack.
That's bad on bad there. Sorry.
Caleb Von Chaser.
No, Tyree Wilson's played a little better this year.
Yeah, Caleb Von Chaser randomly showed up with a couple of plays. They were getting weird positive plays out of people randomly in that defense. But Mahomes had a really good game. The interception we talked about wasn't really on him. This guy's hand gets right up in front of it, just deflects it, sort of unlucky rather than bad. So when Mahomes is going to play well, your margin for error is going to be pretty slim, and the Raiders just didn't capitalize on the opportunities that they did have.
Yeah, Mahomes incredibly efficient again. Travis Kelce really good. He was open all day. I think it's kind of a new Travis Kelce where he's good enough to get open, but probably not
worked himself into shape.
Yeah, but I'm saying a new version of him, not new since the beginning of the year. I don't think he's a guy that's going to pick up those freak 30, 40-yard yak plays like he used to, or finding 10 yards out of nowhere after the catch. I don't think he's going to do that as often, but I think he's certainly good enough to get open. So 10 catches for 90 yards, had the design lateral before the half. Kansas City offense, they haven't scored 30 points in forever.
Yeah.
But again, it felt like they were in control this entire game essentially, and scored 27 and get the win.
Nuke Hopkins, not a huge part of the game. Like, they got him a pass early, but he only ran like 14 routes. They're still easing him in. Like, that's going to take a few weeks to figure out what he can really bring to that offense.
I mean, that's the scarier part of it is they don't need him right now to win games. It's going to be interesting. Again, they play the Bucs on Monday Night Football. Bucs defense, the way they're, getting owned recently. If can the Chiefs finally get to 30 and put more points on the board? But yeah, I thought the Raiders played hard and everything. It wasn't exactly the way I had expected it. I thought the Chiefs would have it in hand. I thought they'd use a little more trickeration, but
you thought they were going to embarrass the Raiders
because of
the Kermit revenge game.
I thought they would.
And it didn't happen.
But the win's enough. I just think you just waste it. If you're the underdog in that situation and you have an historically bad run game, just don't even waste the down. Put all the pressure on Minshew. It might be ugly. Might fumble like he did. You might get sacked a few times like he did 5 times. But you have to take those chances and try to make plays down the field.
I mean, I also think, again, it's like an awareness of what you are. Like, you have to know that your run game stinks at this point. There's no point just stubbornly beating your head against a brick wall. Like, either do what you're saying and just throw something, or again, like, let's try and help it out by creating some kind of creativity down here and not just be relying on, hat on a hat and winning with physicality at the line, because there's no evidence this season that that's going to be successful. So come up with something that has a shot. Now, it might fail as well because you're just not that good, but at least you're trying.
That's the other piece of this game, right? Jalen Watson, starting corner, out for the Chiefs. Nazeed Johnson comes in. He gets hurt. He was the starter. Big step down, but he gets hurt due to a concussion. He gets replaced. Joshua Williams comes in. Like, he was third string for a reason, even though he's shown flashes early in his career at points. I mean, this is a week. Like, if the Chiefs could be in the market for a corner right now, and that's part of the issue here. Is there was success to be had in the pass game, as difficult as it is with Spags. They could be in the market for corner due to their injuries and not having Watson right now. Mm-hmm. But that was like where the Raiders maybe had an advantage, and I don't know if they took advantage enough of that in this game.
Right.
I had no more use for that one. Let's wrap it up. Sunday Night Football. San Francisco 49ers 30, Dallas Cowboys 24. Niners, look, the Cowboys came out playing hard. They looked different early on, looked different. Thought they were going to, maybe surprise some people. They were up 10-3. And then the Niners scored the next 17 points.
The third quarter is really where they took over, right? I mean,
24 points.
Up to the half, it had been pretty close, back and forth. San Francisco had a 21-point third quarter and just took control of the whole game. From that point, it was all that.
Dalvin Cook was activated for this game, so you had the backfield of Dalvin Cook and Zeke Elliott.
Imagine if you'd gone back a few years and been like, Dallas is going to be putting this out there. Everyone would have been like, wow, that's the greatest running team we've ever seen.
I can't remember.
2 guys that are just done.
I'd have to go back through my Twitter archives, but there was a point in life where I had a controversial take that Dalvin Cook was the best runner or best running back in the NFL at a time where I think it was universally acknowledged that it was either Zeke or Todd Gurley.
I think you also wasn't he your running back 1 from that draft class?
I loved Dalvin Cook.
Now, that draft class had Christian McCaffrey.
That had Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey. I loved Dalvin. I mean, we talk about fourth quarter comebacks all the time. In college, Jameis wasn't leading the comebacks. It was Dalvin. They would hand it off to him, and he'd run it 70 yards.
Dalvin in his prime was an incredible running back.
Absolutely. But I'm talking about the Raiders donated down. This is donated down to the defense.
I mean, just look at the numbers, right? Like, Zeke Elliott, 10 carries, 34 yards. Dalvin Cook, 6 carries, 12 yards. The report was that they'd activated Dalvin Cook, right? Because Dalvin Cook had been looking phenomenal in practice, right? Like, but he's practicing against the Dallas run defense, right? Like, you had this stat on last week's show, right? Their run defense has been so bad it would be like the 5th worst pass defense in the NFL, right? It is a catastrophic run defense, and you are judging the performance of this practice squad running back by how well he's looking against that defense. That might not be a great judge. It might not be telling you an honest picture.
Their run defense is better in this game. They still gave up 223 on the ground.
Right. So then you put in Dalvin Cook off the back of this incredible practice, and he doesn't do anything because that's not what you're practicing against, or that's not what you're playing against, rather. It didn't really fix it, having Dalvin Cook out there.
So Niners got up 30-10. The Cowboys, or 20, what was the, get this correct without lying here.
More misinformation.
It was 27-10. Dallas got it back to 27-17, and then to 30-24. Couple pretty much busted coverages for CeeDee Lamb touchdown. CeeDee Lamb with a ton of catches, 13 for 146 and 2 scores. And then Dallas had an opportunity. They had an opportunity in the end. Get stopped on 4th down, and then Niners run out the clock. Isaac Guerrero, for the second time this year, gives up a touchdown.
Yeah.
Gives himself up
Selfless.
for the betterment of the team to seal the deal, leaving his fantasy owners, whoever they are, just wanting touchdowns.
Yeah. So you mentioned they failed on the 4th down. The 3rd down play, though, was game-changing. I mean, they had actually gotten it pretty close again. Dak puts an absolute dime to Kevontae Turpin down the sideline, who just can't come up with a catch.
That was a great throw.
It was a great throw. It was catchable. Turpin just couldn't come up with that catch. Now, it was a difficult catch. There was a defender, really close to him, tight coverage. Dak put it in there. He just can't come up with that catch. That's 3rd and 10. They took a shot down the sideline. They're down 6 with less than 3 minutes left in the game. Can't make that happen. Fail on the 4th down. That's basically game. That was an absolutely massive failed play by Kevontae Turpin. And
he also, weird stuff. He started that comeback attempt by throwing the ball right to Fred Warner.
Right.
It was like, all right, Cowboys, last chance. Let's go. Let's see what happens. He throws the ball right to Fred Warner, dropped, essentially. And then he drops that dime in on 3rd down to Turpin.
Yeah, so that's the thing. On the one hand, you've got this, potentially game-changing play where Dak drops an absolute dime on 3rd and 10 that could have kept that comeback going. On the other hand, a couple of plays earlier, he had thrown the ball, not just to Fred Warner, but to multiple 49ers defenders.
Right.
Fred Warner actually deflected it away from Lenore, I think it was, behind him, who was it was going to hit him in the hands in front of his face. Lenore was livid that Fred Warner had put his mitt up and deflected it away because he was catching it. It was coming right to him.
I don't know what he's reading here. There's
Right.
Yeah, so it would have had to gone through Lenore, Warner and Lenore, and the corner was
breaking on it.
Probably
right.
in position to break it up.
It would have had to go through 2 different defenders just to get to a situation where it was going to be contested. It was I don't know what he was looking at, but it was an awful play. So I don't want to be Dak got robbed of this comeback by his receiver who dropped the ball, because earlier in that drive he'd also had a play that should have ended it anyway. But it was pretty close, and that could have been a massive game-changing play from Turpin, who just couldn't come up with it. And I think that play is kind of emblematic. Jake Ferguson had a reasonable game as well, but this offense is just CeeDee Lamb. And if CeeDee Lamb doesn't make the play, they can't trust anybody else to. Kevontae Turpin has a play here or there, but can't do it consistently. Jalen Tolbert has a play here or there, but can't do it consistently. Jake Ferguson has some plays here or there, but you're not going to him in the key situation. CeeDee Lamb had 16 targets. Nobody else had more than 7. And if you want to take CeeDee Lamb out of the game, or you figure out a way of bracket covering him in key downs, nobody else is consistently able to make those plays.
And because they get CeeDee Lamb involved early, he's open on the busted coverages late for the touchdowns.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
He'll catch it late on.
No, he's not gonna drop those. He's not gonna have a concentration drop.
No.
I thought Lenore's interceptions, 13-10, early 3rd quarter. Dak forced it. Lenore makes a great pick. You talked about the 3rd quarter where the Niners kind of ran away with it. That's where the Cowboys, I think, started collapsing just a little bit. Dak's got some weird picks, man. Remember a couple of years ago we had to defend him on the interceptions. This is bad luck interceptions. He's up to 16 turnover-worthy plays this year, 9 actual interceptions.
He had always
in 4 games, but 16 turnover-worthy plays. Last year he had 17 on the season, including the playoffs. I know there's some game flow stuff there, right? They were winning a lot last year. You don't have to do it. They're playing from behind a lot this year, but still, that is awful. On pace for by far his worst season as far as taking care of the football.
Right,
goes.
but last year was also by far his best season in terms of taking care of the football. He's always skewed slightly high in terms of turnover-worthy play rate as a quarterback.
Slightly, but
but
interceptions are pretty low historically.
But certainly when you compare him to elite quarterbacks, right? Not necessarily league-wide average, but he's getting paid $60 million or whatever it is. What's he getting paid now? $55 million? No, did he get to 60? I forget.
I'm
lost
losing track.
lost
I'm
in his
losing
saga.
track as well.
I'm so lost in his saga of contract. I forget.
Let us
he
know
actually
in
had
the chat what Dak's getting paid.
Anyway, Dak's now getting paid as the best quarterback in the NFL, essentially.
That was us making 60.
He's never been in that world of elite turnover-worthy play number. He's always been slightly more than all of those guys, the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Last season was the first year where he actually really shrunk that down to like a really good level. And then this season he's not just jumped back, but actually gone in the other direction. And yes, you're also right that even though throughout his career he has skewed higher than average in terms of turnover-worthy play rate, he's also skewed lower than average in terms of turnover rate, interception rate. He's been a weird quarterback where for a while, normally those things I think are kind of luck when they don't match, and scream regression in one direction or the other. He was a guy who for a pretty extended period of time had always skewed fewer interceptions than turnover-worthy plays.
So, yeah, I thought his turnovers, Renardo Green forced a fumble, too, when Dallas was going in. Like, the Cowboys they're not as good this year.
Yeah.
They're donating 16 downs to the defense, handing the ball off to Zeke and Dalvin Cook. You just can't make those plays. From a Niners perspective, I thought it wasn't the cleanest Brock Purdy game. Again. But George Kittle on National Tight End Day, no less, goes 6 catches for 128 and a touchdown, which may have been a pick play. What?
Janko might kill you now. It's fine.
Do we have to go?
No. Just that you referenced the thing that we're not allowed to reference.
Oh, did he mention that to me?
Yeah.
We're not supposed to?
No.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no. I got
Brock
questions.
Purdy actually.
I got questions about this day.
Remember last week we were saying that Mahomes had been playing pretty badly this season, but he had the highest PFF rushing grade of any quarterback. That was the game that Brock Purdy had yesterday, where he didn't have a good game at all overall, but his scrambling for positive yardage was the only really good thing that he was doing consistently. Like, he just kept picking up first downs on the ground, even though he wasn't playing that well as a quarterback.
I just want to know, is National Tight End Day always on a Sunday? Like
no,
Thanksgiving's
they said it
on
yesterday.
Thursday?
It's a roving thing where it's the third or the fourth Sunday of the month or whatever.
What if George Kittle's on a bye? It's like his day.
Well, it's unlucky. But it's not the fourth Sunday of October.
Just like Thanksgiving's the fourth
Correct.
Thursday of
It's
November.
not a specific, which is who makes that call? Like, whatever about when the National Tight End Day is, who makes the call? No, it's going to be a floating holiday. It would be ridiculous to have it in the 27th every year.
It's one of the things I respect so much about Scott Hansen. I'm pretty in tune with the NFL, but you miss obscure stuff like that. Like, does Scott Hansen wake up on the Monday of, he's like, I know that this is National Tight End Day week. I'm going to bring that into the broadcast a lot because I know. Like, I didn't know that. I didn't know. What else? Ricky Pearsall with some big plays in there, too. 4 catches for 38 yards, also a 39-yard jet sweep in there.
Yeah.
It's good to see Pearsall in there. Garendo with his 4.3 speed, just like, Renardo Green making plays. The rookies making plays for the Niners in this one.
I was wondering if Garendo is going to be, remember for every year, there's like, can you imagine this day 3 running back in Kyle Shanahan's offense? Like, this would break the league. It happens every year. And then usually that guy ends up being replaced by somebody that they find as an undrafted street free agent or something. Garendo, I was thinking, might actually be the first one of those running backs where you're like, Garendo with that speed and that size in this offense actually looks really good. And then he missed the block on a blitz pickup that almost got Brock Purdy killed. And actually, he may never see the field again.
That was such a great call. I mean, I think Mike Tirico is spectacular as a play-by-play guy. And he noticed that right away. I think him and Chris both caught it right away. The play where he missed the blitz pickup and Purdy gets blindsided.
Yeah.
And the fact that he didn't fumble on that play.
Yeah.
I'm picturing that, right? Dallas is down 2 scores. They're down 13. They get within 6. And then the second play, Brock Purdy gets blindsided and there's balls falling on the ground and Dallas has a chance to pick it up and be in scoring position to take the lead. That would have been an epic just opportunity for the Cowboys to pull this game off, but Purdy didn't fumble, which was pretty impressive.
Definitely, because he clearly didn't know it was coming at all. I mean, that was one where he gets absolutely smacked from the backside, doesn't know that hit's coming from a fast linebacker, like not a defensive back, like somebody with some heft to him. And the reason he didn't have any idea it was coming is because the running back is supposed to pick that up. That was supposed to be taken care of, and it wasn't because Garendo missed the block. And I was like, that he may never see that. That's the kind of thing that keeps rookie running backs off the field. But with Jordan Mason down dealing with that shoulder injury, like the 49ers simply didn't have many other options. And so Garendo's back out there late in the game when they need him.
Debo Samuel also came back from pneumonia, made some big plays. I think he was in the lineup, but
I don't want to get us demonetized or whatever, but fair play to Debo. You know, the dude was in hospital for multiple days with pneumonia, and now he's just out there playing an NFL football game, roasting linebackers down the sideline. And they're like, the only lingering effects is that when he comes off the field, he's breathing heavy. I'm like, yeah, I bet he is. Dude had pneumonia a few days ago.
How are we going to get? What do we get in trouble for?
Well, if instead of saying fair play to him, I said fair something else.
Oh.
Yeah. Can't do that.
Yeah, 4 people know what you would have said.
Well, that's why I didn't
fair play.
Go further than that.
That's good.
And
Yeah.
I wasn't lingering on it, but instead you brought it back, and we had to talk about it this way.
Millions of people are going to be watching this thing. So
yeah.
Don't want to lose the monetization. Anything else on this? Anyway, Niners tied for first, 4-4 NFC West. Cowboys fall to 3-4.
Yeah, big win for the 49ers. I mean, they needed this. Like, you know, I don't think that it's been as bad as their record suggests. You know, we've talked about how much they must be ruining the lost games to teams that they probably should have beaten. They had put themselves in a tough spot. Like, they really needed this win, and they get it. Like, they showed that they can still go out there and beat teams like Dallas, you know, and get a win and keep their season alive. I mean, they would have been in real trouble if they had dropped this game.
There was also Trayvon Diggs incident in the locker room. Are we playing that? Are we playing that audio on this one?
It feels like nothing to me. I mean,
I didn't see who the reporter was, but it was something about wondering what he was doing on that long play.
Yeah, which was the play they were talking about?
It was it Pearsall on the end? No, so he's playing man coverage. Who would have caught a long pass? Maybe Debo? Kittle? Long pass to Kittle up the sideline. Debo's in Trayvon Diggs is in man coverage. And I think the criticism was that when he peeled off his man coverage, maybe wasn't running hard enough, and then eventually, you know, picked up the speed a little bit and maybe tackled Kittle out of bounds at the 2 or something to that effect.
Right.
And it was like, what was he doing on this play? From Cowboys beat reporter. And so Trayvon went in like, you know the kids these days. You finish the football game, you turn on your phone, and you check what are people saying about me? And so like he went to the reporter right after. And
he went and talked to him?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Trayvon has been and then I looked at the comments and somebody's like, "Oh, wait till he gets into your DMs." He's been in my DMs before. It's been in my DMs before.
Trayvon?
Yeah, it's been in my DMs before. With I think he called me a clown probably. I'll have to check it. Todd Gurley put a clown face on me.
Got an extensive list of players that have called you a clown.
So Todd Gurley and Trayvon Diggs, clownish something. Yeah, they've criticized me before. Because apparently I criticized them. All I said about Gurley was that he wasn't an MVP candidate in 2018. And I was correct. And all I said about Diggs is that he gave up 1,000 yards a couple years ago. Also correct. I mean, what am I doing? I'm just putting facts out there. Anyway, Diggs was upset. Cowboys are 3-4, and who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's slightly different if he went after the guy in the first place. My initial reaction is like, dude, it's a tough loss. It's a major blow for this team, and I have quite a lot of sympathy for players being asked questions in the immediate aftermath of things like that. Particularly why, like, there's this thing at the moment with the NFLPA trying to get reporters out of the locker room. I have 100% sympathy for that. Like, the idea that reporters should have full access to a locker room after guys just lost a game like that, I find crazy and is a very unusually accepted thing over here. I have no problem whatsoever with turfing them out of the locker room, making them have less access, essentially. Yeah, like, you'd want more of it, but I don't think that's unreasonable. Get the hell out of the locker room. We'll come to you later. So I have a lot of sympathy for some guy asking you an irritating question after a game of just being like, get out of my face. I don't want to talk about this right now. But if he went after him, instigating that, that's slightly different.
It's such an emotional game, and it's like probably the most emotional game because there's only 17 of them now. Used to be 16. It's a whole week build up to one, and like you lose and you got to start all over again and build up to this. No other sport is like that. You should allow for those emotions, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. How's the World Series? What are your thoughts? Really quick. Freddie Freeman, walk off in extra innings. How does that compare to Kirk Gibson's walk off back in '88?
I already answered this for you.
But the people haven't heard.
I said I'm a traditionalist at heart.
All right, so you think Kirk, unable to even walk off Eckersley in '88, it was a great call too. Joe Davis, I mean, just unbelievable call because he referenced the same call that Vin Scully used in '88. She is gone. It was unbelievable. Freddie Freeman doing it just like Kirk in '88. The last time the Dodgers won it in a non-COVID season.
You never surpass the original. That's my philosophy.
Okay. There's a lot of traditionalists that also believe the Kirk Gibson one was more special. So they're with you there. They're with you. Shohei Ohtani injured, but probably coming back. All right, we got Monday Night Football tonight. We'll instantly react right after it. We'll be back on Wednesday with all sorts of fun. You got to join our the Shouty Show segment is taking off. When we put that out as its own video, the comments, people are loving the Shouty Shows. You have to tune in Wednesday to hear us respond to the Shouty Shows.
And if you have a banging Shouty Show segment, send it in. Email us in.
Send it in.
We won't. We'll try and avoid those ones, but
send the email in and say, put Shouty Shows in the title.
In the subject line.
In the subject line. Sam and I will know not to listen to it or anything because it's better when we're surprised.
Check the mic.
We try to be surprised.
At the33rd-team.com with Shouty Show in the title, and our guys will have even more of them.
All right. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Hit the thumbs up. Hit subscribe. We'll see you tonight, and we'll see you on Wednesday with more. Check the mic.